Chapter 461. The Spirit of Self-Sacrifice. Then besides these two things, do you have anything else to do? Without Lord Gongyi, this time I came here, basically. That's all. Hearing Gongyi's question, Uchiha Itachi shook his head and continued with a thoughtful expression on his face. Such a thing is conveyed through a crow. I am afraid that there will be unexpected deviations, and then there may be some serious problem, so I just came right here. Although Gongyi knew these things for a long time now, he didn't feel how precious and important this information was. However, if nothing is clear, what Itachi just leaked to him is enough to cause a sensation. To collect tailed beasts and create something. Still being pegged by several missing nins, and will be attacked at any time. But they are all a little, 3220. Not careful, you will die. It is because of this that Uchiha Itachi took the initiative to invite Ying back to Konoha village. Because he felt that he had to communicate it himself, which would be safer. Yes, Itachi, you are still cautious. Gongyi smiled faintly, looked at Uchiha Itachi and praised. Gongyi naturally knew all his concerns. Itachi is indeed a rare genius. When he was very young, Gongyi found that he was wiser and more thoughtful, and he was calm no matter what he encountered. Especially, that spirit of self-sacrifice makes Gongyi feel that it is rare. The somewhat taciturn man in front of him, if his life could last longer, Gongyi would be reluctant to let him continue to be an undercover agent in Akatsuki. But now the reason why he doesn't want to let Itachi come back is naturally for the sake of Sasuke's side in the future. It is estimated that although he has become the 5th generation of Hokage, Uchiha Itachi will still not choose to return to Konoha. Well, that's fine. Akatsuki can't be completely eliminated by himself now. Wherever Uchiha Itachi is in the short term, at least he can completely master their movements. As for what happened on Uchiha Itachi's side, I will wait until the future to see if there is a chance to save his life. Thank you, Lord Gongyi. This kind of thing, since I made an agreement with you at the beginning, naturally I won't break my promise. Uchiha Itachi didn't show any smug expression, but returned to him respectfully. Well, it seems that your physical condition is not very good now. As a very skilled medical ninja, Gongyi can feel that Uchiha Itachi's body has entered some kind of pathological change. It seems that due to the long-term use of Mangekyo Sharingan and some physical conditions, Uchiha Itachi's life has been greatly overdrawn. It doesn't affect the serious problem, and it can last for a while. Uchiha Itachi didn't open his mouth to deny it, for Gongyi knew that he couldn't escape his eyes. Don't worry, Sasuke has made great progress. It won't be long before, when the dust settles, I will give him the previous things. When the time comes, all the facts will be revealed. Gongyi smiled faintly, he naturally knew what Uchiha was. Sasuke. With the guidance of Lord Gongyi, he was able to make rapid progress, which is indeed unsurprising. As the most concerned relative, Uchiha Itachi is naturally very happy to hear his good news. A moment of silence, Uchiha Itachi looked at Gongyi again and said respectfully, the truth doesn't matter, it's all about the future of Sasuke. I need to trouble you, Lord Gongyi. Regarding his current illness, Uchiha Itachi knew that he should not last long. In the future, Sasuke will naturally rely on Gongyi. Don't worry, I will never forget what I promised you. Gongyi smiled and looked at Uchiha Itachi, and he agreed. Okay, since there's nothing left, then you should quit demonic illusion. Yes. Hearing Gongyi's reminder, Uchiha Itachi didn't want another Tsukuyomi. His eyes did sting, and his whole body was very uncomfortable. Maintaining Tsukuyomi's space for such a long time is also not small for him. Blood and tears slowly flowed down. For a tyrannical existence like Gongyi, he forcibly pulled him into the illusion, so the backlash that Uchiha Itachi suffered was not small. By the way, you can leave Konoha village directly now. Seeing that Uchiha Itachi was about to leave, Gongyi immediately said to him, "But the battlefield is there. Do you think my Konoha village comes in when I want to come in and leaves when I want to leave?" After Uchiha Itachi finished speaking, Gong Yi's smile did not diminish, but there was a faint hint of killing intent. "If you leave now, there's still something to say to Akatsuki." Gong Yi seemed to have thought about it for a long time, and continued, "After all, before I came, you used demonic illusion and your clone to leave, which is not in conflict with each other. Instead, the two of you are now safe and sound in my Konoha village, which will only make Akatsuki's place more suspicious. After all, with my character, they should know everything well." Saying that, Gong Yi turned his back and looked towards the battlefield. "I see, Lord Gong Yi." Uchiha Itachi seemed to understand Gong Yi's meaning, and he also took a last look at the location of Yuhi's Sharingan. Immediately afterwards, his whole person was immediately turned into countless black crows and separated towards the scattered surroundings. Feeling that Uchiha Itachi's chakra has completely disappeared, Gong Yi also dodged and left here. The surrounding area, Gong Yi was actually using his divine sense to cover him. And Obito can't actually get close to him. Of course, he naturally won't disclose such things to Uchiha Itachi. This will be kung fu, Gong Yi thought. 1-6, I just need to get rid of Kisame Hoshigaki first. From Uchiha Itachi, since it is confirmed that Akatsuki has targeted himself. Then Gong Yi started the same way, with a plan to deal with them in his mind. Before they did anything, Gong Yi had already decided to kill them one by one. Well, Kisame Hoshigaki unfortunately became the first one to sacrifice. Of course, after killing him, he received news that Terumime was coming during the Hokage inauguration ceremony. His death, as well as the shark muscle broadsword, could be considered good news for the village of Kurigakure. Gong Yi can just use it as a benefit for the alliance of the two villages. Swish. Now that the thoughts have come, Gong Yi uses the technique of Hiraishin to blink back to the battlefield. Chapter 462. Well, as expected of a guy who can suppress the ninja world. On the battlefield by the river bank, Kisame Hoshigaki looked at Gong Yi ahead with a face full of fear. Although there is only Gong Yi's avatar here, but Kisame Hoshigaki has not found any flaws. After all, Gong Yi's Mokudan wood-style clone also possesses a small amount of his chakra power. In this way, just after a few rounds of fighting, Kisame Hoshigaki is still there. Some feel that their strength has increased. After all, after a long period of training, Kisame Hoshigaki's power has long since become much more tyrannical than before. Well, it doesn't seem to be too difficult to deal with Gong Yi in front of him now. It is because of the way he is now that he has slowly started to get excited. The shark muscle broadsword on his shoulder, he felt incomparably interested in the power within. Gong Yi. Although you are very powerful, you don't know that I will also become stronger according to the strength of the enemy. The words were over, Kisame Hoshigaki slashed towards Mia 29 feet's clone again. Oh, this guy is still interesting. After using the Hiraishin technique to return here, Gong Yi quietly looked ahead from the dark. I saw that Kisame Hoshigaki's chakra power is indeed very strong. Although it is a bit exaggerated to call it a tailless beast, I have to say that his strength is indeed very strong. However, no matter how strong he is today, as long as Gong Yi wants to keep him here, then Kisame Hoshigaki naturally cannot leave Konoha village. Bang! A loud noise came out. I saw that the position where Gong Yi's clone was standing just now started to crumble. The entire street that was flat and clean before was full of cracks and pits. Obviously, Kisame Hoshigaki's destructive power is still very powerful. The quiet bank of the small river, which was originally reserved for people to enjoy the scenery, has long since become a ruin. Countless cracks are like spider webs, spreading thousands of meters away. Now that Gong Yi has appeared and is fighting against himself, Kisame Hoshigaki has no fear. Besides, Kisame Hoshigaki now knows that it is impossible to leave Konoha village unharmed. Only by defeating Gongyi in front of him can the two of them leave Konoha village. Otherwise, no matter how careful you are now, it will be in vain. Ha! The huge shark muscle sword made a roaring wind. When Kisame Hoshigaki saw that Gongyi's clone had evaded his attack, he continued to move forward. If you continue to destroy like this, it will indeed be difficult for me to deal with it later. Forget it, let's kill you first. Next second, when Kisame Hoshigaki was about to continue swinging his sword, an indifferent voice came from behind him. Was stunned when they heard this familiar voice. Because it's from Gongyi. How is it possible? Sarutobi Asuma, Hitaki Kakashi was stunned. Standing on the thick branch behind him, he was also stunned. Especially still, the smug Kisame Hoshigaki, too. Everyone present didn't expect that what they saw was actually Gongyi's avatar. Bang! As if to verify everyone's answer, Gongyi, who had fought with Kisame Hoshigaki for several rounds, immediately disappeared and turned into white smoke. When is it? Jiraiya stood at the back, her heart sank. Could it be that at the very beginning, he was using a clone to come here? Jiraiya swallowed her saliva and thought to herself, it seems like this is the case. For Gongyi's methods, Jiraiya felt some deep fear. He thought he had guessed everything, and apparently only this explanation could make him feel comfortable. Gongyi that I saw from the beginning was nothing but a clone. The one who appeared now is the deity who came out of Hokage's office. Otherwise, Jiraiya, he couldn't explain it at all. When did Gongyi use shadow clone? After all, he didn't notice at all those little actions of Gongyi before. Even Sarutobi Asuma and Hitaki Kakashi thought the same thing as Jiraiya. Well, is it actually a clone? Kisame Hoshigaki turned his head, clenched the shark muscle sword in his hand, and muttered to himself. He was a little angry in his heart now. More, the current Kisame Hoshigaki feels the shame. Because just now, I actually fought with Gongyi's clone for so many rounds. This is undoubtedly the most shameful thing. Especially Kisame Hoshigaki also had the illusion that he might kill Gongyi himself. But now, when looking at Gongyi standing in front of him now, the chakra all over his body fluctuated. Kisame Hoshigaki thinks he thinks too much, he's still very domineering. Damn it, forget it. Kisame Hoshigaki bit Kiba, immediately. Both hands hand seal. Now that things have come to this, he is still very decisive. Sweetened water style, water bursting shark dance. Almost instantly, the whole quiet flowing river began to become turbulent. Not only that, the water flow condensed by chakra also burst out suddenly. The destructive power of this Kisame Hoshigaki is indeed great. Seeing him unleash the sweetened water-style ninjutsu, Gongyi shook his head and immediately thought. The golden light shot out into the sky, and the big hand transformed by 32 Jin-dun appeared out of thin air. When it condensed behind Kisame Hoshigaki, it was immediately caught him. Kunai with AC trait was thrown out immediately by Gongyi. The technique of Hiraishin starts. Kisame Hoshigaki, who has not had time to fully release his ninjutsu, now teleported out of the village by Gongyi. Wait, if someone speaks again, Gongyi will immediately dodge out of here. At the same time, here is the location of the Konoha village dozens of miles away. In the blink of an eye, a piece of Wangyang suddenly appeared here. In an instant, the entire dense jungle was swallowed up and turned into a land of flowing water. Kisame Hoshigaki, who was transferred out of Konoha village by Gongyi, has landed here in a state of embarrassment. The entire large-scale Suiten water-style ninjutsu was completely released when it arrived here. I saw that around now, there were turbulent currents constantly appearing, and it continued to spread to the surrounding. In a short time, the land was no longer visible. Around the jungle, it turned into a world of sea. It can be seen that Kisame Hoshigaki just now is ready to fight with Gongyi. Through everything before, he naturally knew once again how terrifying Gong Yi was. He and his clone actually fought for so many rounds without winning. Now when he knows his true body is coming, Kisame Hoshigaki naturally uses all his powers. And LT, collection, please keep this paragraph, otherwise you will be banned from collecting IP. Chapter 463. Going Against Common Sense. Outside the village of Konoha. This should have been a dense jungle, but unfortunately such a scene has long since disappeared. It was replaced by a flood of Wangyang water, which directly submerged all here. Seen from a distance, now here, only one person is standing there quietly, as if waiting for something. Tisk tisk. In this case, I don't think you want to kill me, but more to destroy my Konoha village. Gong Yi dodged and appeared in front of Kisame Hoshigaki. He stood quietly on the water, looked around briefly, and smiled sarcastically. Huh. Kisame Hoshigaki saw Gong Yi's abusive expression. He bit Kiba and snorted, "It's useless to talk too much, go to hell." Now this situation is really not very friendly to him. Uchiha Itachi doesn't know what's going on. It's hard to leave here anyway. Gong Yi, the dark blue demon of Konoha, has already set his sights on him. Now that he has faced such a life-threatening moment, he cannot remain as indifferent as Gong Yi. Next second, hand seal with both hands again. Sweden, water style, shark prison. Hula. When a chakra force emerges frantically, the surrounding water begins to gather again. As if they had become alive, they were wrapped towards Gong Yi and Kisame Hoshigaki. Oh. Gong Yi, who was standing above the water, didn't make any movement, but was looking at the gathering water around him. While Gong Yi was covered in water. As if suddenly entering the water, it makes people feel that the darkness has a sense of suffocation. Now someone can see from a distance, then the position where Gong Yi and Kisame Hoshigaki are located has been occupied by a huge semicircular water polo. Hehe, you are strong, yes. Kisame Hoshigaki saw that the ninjutsu around him had been successfully created, and he knew that he was the master in this water prison. As if finding confidence, Kisame Hoshigaki showed a murderous smile and continued, "So here in deep water, I don't believe that you can still exert your strength." Exclamation mark quote. Is it? Gong Yi's smile didn't diminish, even though he was inside the water polo where ninjutsu was condensed. But he didn't feel any discomfort at all, on the contrary, it was still as if he was outside. Kisame Hoshigaki didn't even notice that there was something around Gong Yi's body that was blocking the flow of water. The white clothes he was wearing were not even a bit wet. Shark muscle, come and devour as much as you like. Kisame Hoshigaki saw that Gong Yi still had the same face, and a disgusted expression appeared on his face. Without waiting any longer, he immediately preemptive attack. Ha! The shark muscle sword in his hand, the white bandage that bound it immediately. Unwrap. I saw a whole body covered with bayonets, immediately manifested. Although it is called knife. But people, no matter what, actually have nothing to do with knives at all. Very fast, swing forward. Kisame Hoshigaki, who is in the water, is completely different from before. Before he had time to swing the shark muscle sword down, Gong Yi's whole body immediately left the place. Ignoring the obstacles of the high pressure of the water, the speed is actually much faster than Kisame Hoshigaki. Yes. Kisame Hoshigaki saw his own blow and was dodged by Gong Yi without warning. He couldn't believe it. Now Gong Yi, he can actually move freely in the water. This is completely different from what he thought before. It is only because of the special ability of his body that he can move in water like this. But what about Gong Yi? He's totally, Kisame Hoshigaki can't believe it. Damn, I don't believe that your chakra is really infinite. In this water prison, you can't hold on at all. Kisame Hoshigaki saw that Gong Yi had come to the other side, he bit Kiba and turned his head to the side and said. In its own hand has the ability to absorb other people's chakra and then supply it for its own use. Gong Yi is. No matter how strong he is, he still needs to rely on chakra to exert his abilities. Thinking of this, he saw Gong Yi's look of ignoring him again. Kisame Hoshigaki naturally didn't hold back at all, immediately. Hand seal again. Mystery shark muscle fusion. Almost in an instant, the shark muscle in Kisame Hoshigaki's hand instantly integrate with each other. The appearance that belonged to Kisame Hoshigaki just now has long since disappeared, and replaced by a half-human, half-shark form. Come on. When Kisame Hoshigaki changed completely, the power of his whole body was completely different. He punched out and blasted towards Gong Yi. A strange force that swallowed chakra burst out. Is it because of the fusion of the shark muscle, so that he can absorb chakra himself? Gong Yi twitched the corners of his mouth and muttered to himself, it is estimated that the chakra in the object he touches will be absorbed by him, and then filled into his body. Gong Yi naturally has a new understanding of Kisame Hoshigaki's strength. No wonder he was able to capture the tailed beast several times by himself. Its strength is indeed one of the few in the ninja continent. Especially the shark muscle he has fused. In fact, Gong Yi also knew about it when he studied the tailed beast before. It is the best thing that can increase the strength of the ninja. The shark muscle, originally a small fish following the three tails, is responsible for helping the three tails absorb and consume chakra. In the beginning, the shark muscle was quietly attached to the belly of the rock, responsible for cleaning up the residue, and sucking food from the belly of the rock, extracting a large amount of chakra, and at the same time returning the refined chakra to the body of the rock. The strength of the shark muscle lies in that it can extract 5 times as much chakra from food as normal and good chakra. The chakra stored in the shark muscle will continue to be sent into the body of the shark during the battle. Basically, there are still many uses for the shark muscle. In addition to the other party's chakra can be sucked away for your own use. You can also use the large amount of chakra stored in the shark muscle to stimulate the regeneration of body cells. And the current situation on Kisame Hoshigaki's side is also due to the particularity of the shark muscle, so that the shark muscle can also be used to merge with himself to become a murloc. Well, if the current Gong Yi hadn't been able to use the shark muscles at all, his abilities would still be quite attractive. Pity that Gong Yi's power no longer needs to be enhanced by external things. All he needs now is to cultivate his own strength. Foreign objects are, after all, only foreign objects. Returning to his senses, Gong Yi saw Kisame Hoshigaki kill again, and his indifferent face drew a smile. Chapter 464. Konoha Village's top beam Jinchuriki column. Golden escape. Seeing Kisame Hoshigaki rushing towards him again, Gong Yi didn't speak at all. He has no interest in this pointless waste of time. Just as Gong Yi's voice fell, a ray of light burst into the sky. When this golden light was reflected, it had already appeared outside the semicircular water polo. With a bang, people can feel the dazzling light. It has condensed AC long sword and slashed down automatically. As if it has spirituality, its falling speed is faster than that of Kisame Hoshigaki. Kisame Hoshigaki, who wanted to attack Gong Yi when he saw the golden long sword coming, immediately. His face changed drastically. That kind of destructive power, he could clearly feel it. In particular, Kisame Hoshigaki felt uncomfortable with the terrifying coercion. Meanwhile, Gong Yi was still standing there with a smile on his face. He didn't move at all, just swung the golden long sword behind him. A mere Kisame Hoshigaki, though strong, is still under Gong Yi's control. Since Gong Yi wanted to kill him, he naturally did not hesitate. Boom! Almost in the blink of an eye, the golden sword touched the semicircular Sweden water-style prison. It was calm immediately. Chaotic that it couldn't bear the pressure at all. Before Kisame Hoshigaki left Gong Yi's eyes, the entire prison of the huge Sweden water-style collapsed. The water of Wangyang, which had just gathered in countless numbers, completely once again became a puddle scattered around. However, although it was destroyed, the Jindan long sword did not stop at all. It still slashed vertically towards Kisame Hoshigaki's position. Are you kidding me? Kisame Hoshigaki, who quickly retreated, widened his eyes. He had no idea that his impregnable water prison was disintegrated so easily. Moreover, this terrifying Jindan power was not counteracted by its own ninjutsu at all, but still carried a terrifying coercion to kill itself. Heartbroken, Kisame Hoshigaki's previous confidence has long since disappeared. He had already used his strongest state, but he didn't even have the chance to touch Gong Yi's body, and then he was about to be killed. Damn it. Situation has become very serious, and Kisame Hoshigaki has recovered from a state of shock. He continued to hand seal with both hands again and again, trying to resist Gong Yi's Zeon strike. Sweetened water style, thousands of sharks. Hula hula. In an instant, thousands of sharks appeared in the sea at once. Rush out. As if they were not afraid of life and death, they faced the golden giant sword released by Gong Yi and walked away. The current Kisame Hoshigaki, who just wants to use ninjutsu to delay him, has no intention of fighting again, and doesn't want Gong Yi to fight at all. From the beginning to the present, the two seem to have gone through a long time. However, it was only a matter of minutes. Victory or defeat was already a foregone conclusion, and he couldn't defeat Gong Yi at all. Kisame Hoshigaki knew that the fifth Hokage was standing there smiling. He is too strong. Sweetened water style, great exploding water colliding wave. As if uneasy, Kisame Hoshigaki opened his mouth and spit out a stream of water again after he hand-sealed thousands of sharks. Like the Wangyang tsunami, as soon as they appeared, they stopped in front of Kisame Hoshigaki. Although this is already an offensive sweetened water style ninjutsu, its defensive power is not weak, completely better than the water formation wall. Ordinary defensive ninjutsu. This time, I can only see that people have a feeling of watching a strange scene. There was a tsunami wave that surged forward in the sky, like a huge waterfall flowing backwards. Looking at the thousands of sharks in front of them, they were huge, and they all rushed forward with their big mouths full of kiba. Swish, swish, swish. At this time, Kakashi and others also immediately dodged and rushed here. There are dozens of Anbu squads behind him. Even Nara Shikaku is here at this moment. Gong Yi's strength is naturally very terrifying, but when Nara Shikaku knew about this, he still chose to immediately come to support. After all, Akatsuki's methods are weird. Who knows if Kisame Hoshigaki is a bait, just to attract Gong Yi. For such a situation, Nara Shikaku dare not let his guard down. Gong Yi is already the person that Konoha village cannot lose, and he now completely belongs to the Jinchuriki column of the whole Konoha village. This young Hokage of the 5th generation really had an accident, then the whole Konoha village would probably be doomed. Look, where is Hokage-sama? Soon, when a group of people came along with the loud noise, there was an Anbu member immediately. Point forward. A huge stream of water appeared in the sky there, and above it was a golden giant sword that was slowly falling. Radiance of the sky shines all around, and the whole jungle is illuminated golden. No one will admit wrong, for Gong Yi Horror Special, Kekkei Genkei. Jindan, they are all just getting to know each other. Come on, let's go and see. Nara Shikaku frowned, and the words fell immediately. Dodge towards there. The same is true for the rest of the people, who did not dare to delay at all. On the field. The golden great sword did not stop at all, it was still there, falling. As if Gong Yi's will was taking hold of it. I saw thousands of huge sharks in front of them, and they didn't have any effect at all. The sound of puff, puff, and puff kept appearing, and blood rained continuously around the whole film. Although they were numerous, they couldn't even block the Gong Yi Jindan great sword for a second. Sensing everything in front of him, Kisame Hoshigaki showed despair on his face. The golden brilliance in front of him seemed to be impossible to stop with ninjutsu. Hula. The whole thousands of psychic sharks have been wiped out in the blink of an eye. The tsunami-like blue water in front of the whole piece, they were all dyed by Yuhi's blood, and now it makes people look cold inside. The art of Hiraishin. At this moment, when Kisame Hoshigaki was still, focusing on the golden giant sword in front of him, Gongyi had already dodged away. When he reappeared, he was already behind Kisame Hoshigaki. It's time to end. Seemingly not wanting to waste any more time, Gongyi's hand suddenly transformed into a long sword again. The whole body is still gilded, but the size is much smaller than the one in front. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Feeling the terrifying killing intent behind him, Kisame Hoshigaki didn't even have time to speak, but only felt a chill in his chest. Gongyi has penetrated his body. The chakra power that the whole person had just kept flowing has completely disintegrated at this moment. He widened his eyes and couldn't imagine that he would be so easy to be killed by Gongyi. Chapter 465. The two only fought for a few rounds. Gongyi didn't even make a move at all, and Kisame Hoshigaki was already forced to such an extent. And now as his consciousness gradually blurs, Kisame Hoshigaki finally understands. This Gongyi, he is just a monster than himself. With a thud, Kisame Hoshigaki's body fell into the water. Following that, the sweetened water style ninjutsu above also collapsed immediately. Soon, the golden giant sword that had just been unstoppable disappeared as Gongyi stopped. Roar, and the various pictures of the monstrous water and waves disappeared, and the surroundings suddenly became extremely peaceful. Except, the water surface of Wangyang in the entire jungle has already returned to calm. Lord Hokage. Dark shadow flashed past, and Nara Shikaku appeared here with a nervous face. He saw Gongyi standing there with a smile on his face at the moment, and immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Master Hokage, are you alright? Something happened. Quote. Seeing Nara Shikaku's appearance, Gongyi smiled lightly. Don't worry, I can do anything. Swish, swish, swish. When the words were finished, many people appeared one after another. Kakashi and Anbu members also rushed here. When they saw Gongyi standing here safe and sound, there was no surprise in his face. The person in front of me and others. The 5th generation Hokage, how powerful he is, everyone knows it well. Nara Shikaku's pointless worry is actually unnecessary. At least every member of the Konoha village now can't think of who can beat Gongyi. Hokage-sama, did that guy, Kisame Hoshigaki, run away too? Looking around at a sea surface made by Sweden, water style, Kakashi asked Gongyi. Also ran. Gongyi, pretending not to know, replied to Kakashi, you mean Uchiha Itachi has escaped from Konoha? I was careless. Kakashi nodded with an ugly face, and then continued, from the very beginning he was using demonic illusion, and I was fighting with only his clone. Clenching his fists, Kakashi also seemed to feel the humiliation. I think he chose to leave when he found out Lord Hokage, before your clone appeared. This guy, he's still too cautious. Kakashi knew about Gongyi's connection with Uchiha Itachi, so now he blames himself for being careless. Hee, run away and run away. Seeing Kakashi's appearance, Gongyi naturally didn't show any blame. He smiled, looked at Kakashi and said, Itachi has been different since he was a child, and his temperament is far superior to his peers, and now with the passage of time, he will only be more scary. So it's understandable that he was able to discover the danger in advance. It's nothing, anyway, now it's enough to just leave one. Gongyi's voice just finished, and he hulas. The whole piece of calm water began to appear behind him, followed by a large golden hand, and the body of Kisame Hoshigaki was caught in its palm. This, a first-class missing nin. Was it killed by Hokage-sama so soon? The number one felon in the village of Kurigakure was actually beheaded by Lord Hokage on the spot. We obviously didn't delay for a few minutes, but it happened so quickly. Although all the people did not open their mouths, they were secretly surprised in their hearts. After all, in less than a few minutes, Gong Yi managed to deal with a very difficult missing nin in the ninja continent. Although everyone knows that Gong Yi is powerful, such efficiency. And it does surprise everyone. Okay, let's sort out the battlefield. Gong Yi didn't talk to them. The golden hand threw Kisame Hoshigaki's body directly in front of him. He looked at Nara Shikaku and the others, and said indifferently, "This guy's body and his weapons are well preserved. This time, the village of Kurigakure has come from thousands of miles to congratulate our Konoha, so this is a return gift for them. I understand, Hokage-sama, you can rest assured." Well. Hearing the words, Gong Yi nodded and the whole person immediately left here. By the time he appeared, he had already returned to the village of Konoha. In the entire village now, there are still people coming and going on the streets, and everyone has not been affected. Obviously, the war that just appeared was not noticed at all. Hokage building, inside the office. When Gong Yi has come back here, he has no mind to watch the files anymore. He's thinking about what's next for Akatsuki. The tailed beast naturally wants them to collect, and he will not stop it. After all, after they successfully complete 10 tails, it is also very important to their own plans. Probably didn't even know that, when he thought that the control was playing with the ninja world, he didn't know that it was actually Gong Yi who took full advantage of him. The real driving force behind the scenes is naturally Gong Yi. If you want to completely unify the ninja world, this final war is essential. As for the capture of the tailed beast, now that so much time has passed, the 8 tails and 4 tails that were killed at the beginning should have almost been resurrected. So Akatsuki should not have any obstacles. More of them are probably afraid of themselves here. Now kill Kisame Hoshigaki, and where Uchiha Itachi is the eyeliner, Akatsuki can't threaten himself. The contrary, because of the incident this time, Akatsuki probably wouldn't want to come and find himself. The tailed beast capture plan requires personnel. Losing a Kisame Hoshigaki is enough for them. So now they definitely don't want to send people over and kill themselves. Absolutely. And the masked man Obito, not a stupid guy, they naturally have a balance between the priorities of things. It is estimated that when Uchiha Itachi returns, they should be quiet for a short period of time. And Gong Yi has no time to pay attention to them now. The situation in Sunagakure village has basically ended, and he will naturally have to secretly control it. As for how to control it, Gong Yi had already had an idea in his heart, and this time he was going to take advantage of the Hokage inauguration ceremony to use the visiting Kurigakure village to suppress Sunagakure village. Well as things at the second tail of Kumogakure village, Gong Yi is also slowly paying attention. The research on the force of the small 10 tails Jinchuriki column, he is already short of this tailed beast, so it is urgent, and he needs to start by himself. After all, it will take time for the cell fusion of the 9-tailed beast, as well as various researches. How could he keep procrastinating? Everything has just begun. Gong Yi has not slack off. Enter. Chapter 466. Night falls silently. Jungle birds have returned, and the full moon above the vague sky has also appeared. Although the outline appears blurred, as the sky gradually darkens, the hazy moonlight has become bright. When all the plans were made, Gong Yi had already left at the Hokage building. The leader of the palace, Uncle Gong Yi, you are back. As soon as he walked into the house, Gong Yi heard a loud voice. I saw Naruto sitting there, waving his hand with a smile on his face. Eri Yi and Gong Ling were also sitting across from him. Apparently the three of them were talking just now. It's Naruto. Seeing Naruto, Gong Yi smiled and also said hello. Saying that, Gong Yi touched his head and continued to ask, how is your practice going recently? Have you been lazy? Of course I won't embarrass Uncle Gongyi. 3220. Naruto waved his fist and said with a serious face, I will not fall behind in all my practice. Really? Then how did I hear from Kakashi that you've been slacking off lately? Gongyi smiled unabated, looked at him jokingly and asked. Cough cough cough. When Naruto heard this, he immediately retorted, Uncle Gongyi, how could I be lazy? That's right, we Naruto's goal is to become Hokage, so how could we be lazy? Nodding, Gongyi seemed to show approval, looking like Naruto. That's right, I must be a Hokage like Uncle Gongyi. At that time, as long as I become as powerful as Uncle Gongyi, everyone will naturally recognize me. Naruto heard Gongyi finish speaking, a trace of firmness appeared on his tender face. From childhood to adulthood, Naruto and Gongyi have nothing to say, they have long been regarded as relatives, and the two have no restraint at all. And Gongyi also didn't feel annoyed by Naruto's blunt words. After all, this child has always been by his side, Naruto's rise. Ariyi and himself are both witnesses. It seems that the little Naruto at the time has grown up, and he actually said such mature words. Wei Li chuckled, looked at Naruto and praised lightly. I remember back then, he was still a kid who would only play pranks all over the street. Gongling also had a smile on her face, nodded and said. Not bad. Gongyi nodded, feeling relieved as well, being able to find a goal, and use it as the source Izumi to work hard, this is the beginning of your success. Now Naruto has unknowingly begun to gradually resemble the original self. Sarutobi Hiruzen's former philosophy, Kenko did not affect Naruto. Because of his own sake, Naruto has been tied to himself and he has become the successor of his own philosophy. Che, don't underestimate me, you will definitely work hard. And just as Naruto's voice fell, he seemed to suddenly think of something, immediately. Looking at Gongyi, he continued, Oh right, Uncle Gongyi, I have one more thing I want to ask you. When he said that, he also secretly said in his heart, his head is really bright, he clearly came here for this matter, and now he almost forgot about it. What's the matter? Gongyi sat down, looked at Naruto and asked. Although there is no expression on his face now, he can probably guess what Naruto came to him today and wants to say. After all, if there are basically no accidents, it should be that he wants to seek his own opinion. Master Jiraiya, one of the Sanins today, he once came to me. Naruto didn't hide it at all, looked at Gongyi and said. Hee, that's as expected. Brighter smile on his face, Gongyi murmured inwardly. Now that Naruto is here, it does seem that he is here to ask himself. After all, every time a major decision is made, Naruto will find himself. Senses, Gongyi nodded and replied, Jiraiya. Then what happened? Without breaking it, Gongyi continued to ask Naruto. He wants to take me out of Konoha village to practice. I think now this is a very rare opportunity. After all, Uncle Gongyi, you have become Hokage, so of course I can't hold you back. Naruto's face became serious, he looked at Gongyi and continued, Only when I get stronger and stronger, can I help you, Uncle Gongyi, like everyone else. As if he had already thought about it, Naruto was very solemn. Although looking at Naruto usually careless, but his mind is also very delicate. Although Gongyi is extremely powerful now, Naruto still wants to do something for him. After all, Naruto has been blessed by Gongyi since he was a child, so he is naturally grateful. However, he is very weak now and can't influence anything at all. So this time Jiraiya wants to take him out to experience, it is actually a very rare opportunity to strengthen himself. But knowing this, Naruto did not directly agree to Jiraiya, but came here to ask Gongyi's opinion. Are you going out to practice? That's right, Uncle Gongyi. Nodding, Naruto looked at Gongyi and continued, When I got this Konoha forehead guard, I was no longer a student of the ninja school. Please rest assured Uncle Gongyi, this is the recognition you gave me in person back then. Although I can't be as strong as you, Uncle Gongyi, at least I'm no longer a child, I'm a ninja now. Alright. Moment of silence. Gongyi showed a loose expression. It's not a bad thing to go out and experience. This may be a good thing for you, Naruto. Gongyi did not reject Naruto's, but agreed. Naturally, I will not refuse these. I had already agreed with Jiraiya, so I will not let Naruto give up this idea. It is actually a good choice to let Jiraiya take Naruto away. Go and practice, and after that, you can teach him better. Sasuke, Gongyi is now thinking, should he be sent to Orochimaru 1? 6. Teaching and experience are not the same thing at all. It's also good for children like them to have more experience. Wait until later to carve yourself. They will be more powerful. Just like Kimimaro and Hyuga Neji at the beginning, they have been protected by themselves for a long time, so the flowers in the greenhouse can only be simply watched. Only after the wind and rain can really hone good things. Naruto saw Gongyi nod, and his face became more excited. Uncle Gongyi, do you agree? This is a good thing, and I will naturally support you. With a smile on Gongyi's face, he looked at Naruto and encouraged, stick to what you think, and then make it your goal, and work hard. Chapter 467. Renovation of Konoha Village. Gongyi, now that Naruto is so young, is it really okay to let him leave the village? Ariyi and Gongling asked Gongyi worriedly. Now that Gongyi has agreed, the two women naturally did not show their denial. But now that Naruto is no longer here, they just said what they thought. You are a little too worried. Although Naruto's identity is a bit special, but it's like this right now, so he should be asked to practice more. When Naruto saw the expressions on Aili and the others, he shook his head and smiled. Don't worry, Naruto will be fine. When I was as big as him, I could already decide the victory or defeat of a war. Gongyi shrugged and continued. Look at the beginning, even though we weren't born in peaceful times, we still didn't live very well. Soon, hearing what Gongyi said, Ariki and Gongling also nodded. Gongyi taught 29 students and naturally has a unique method. Whether it's Kimimaro or Hyuga Neji or Sasuke, he's all like that. Now the two women also trust Gongyi very much. Since he said there is no problem, then there is really no problem. Time flies, time flies. The morning of a new day has come. The silver-white dawn gradually revealed the brown Yuhi, and the morning sun reflected on the window bars of thousands of households in Konoha village. Lord Hokage, the supplies from Sunagakure village have been delivered. Now that we have reached the junction of the land of fire and the land of wind, they hope we can send someone to take over. In Hokage's office, Kimimaro is standing here reporting at the moment. Haha, is it already here? Hearing Kimimaro finish speaking, Gongyi, who had come here early, asked. It looks so. Hearing that, Kimimaro nodded and continued. However, it is still unclear whether the Sunagakure village has really delivered the supplies. I haven't sent anyone there yet, but I have just received the news, so Hokage sir, what do you think we should do next? You can bring someone over in person and receive it directly. Gongyi didn't show much expression on his face, and slowly replied, now they don't dare to play tricks in Sunagakure village, but you have to pay attention to the situation in the other outer villages. Knocking on the table, Gongyi continued thoughtfully, especially in the current village of Iwagakure. Iwagakure village. That's right, it's Iwagakure village, although it seems to have a bigger hatred with us, and the fourth generation of Raikage has a very hot temper. Seeing Kimimaro's bewildered face, Gongliao smiled and said again, at the cusp of this current situation, even if his Kumogakure village is suffering, I don't think he will choose a time to shoot. At the critical moment, it will never be taken lightly. But Iwagakure is different. Gongyi seemed to have seen through the situation in the entire ninja continent, and said in a whimper, that Tsuchikajinoki, the third generation of Iwagakure village, is not a fuel-efficient lamp. He has now created the most prosperous era of Iwagakure village, and he will definitely not let it rest now, and watch our Konoha village continue to grow stronger. Especially, Onoki is the grandson of the first-generation Tsuchikage Shihei, so he grew up in the education of the first-generation Tsuchikage and the second-generation Tsuchikage since childhood, and his temperament has already reached a very terrible level at his current age. Saying that, Gongyi stood up with his hands behind his back, then turned his head to look out the wide window, and smiled faintly. So the current Iwagakure village is more dangerous than the Kumogakure village. I understand, Hokage-sama. Now I'll bring someone over immediately. Nodding, Kimimaro seemed to understand and answered him immediately. Well, let's go. Gongyi didn't ask anything, just nodded. For Kimimaro, he is very relieved. So long, Kimimaro is no longer the child he used to be. Through Gongyi's recent days, as long as it's not for those who have super shadow power, very few people can take advantage of Kimimaro's hands. Especially these days, after I handed over some of the forbidden techniques on the sealed book to Kimimaro, his strength has become a lot stronger. Whether it is self-protection, or to perform certain tasks, there is no problem at all. At least those cage-level ninjas that a lot of people look up to, they want to beat Kimimaro. That's basically a very difficult thing. Because of this, Gongyi naturally dared to hand over this important task to Kimimaro without any worries. Well, in a disguised form, Gongyi will feel relieved when such things are handed over to Kimimaro. Aside from being loyal to himself, his ability is now the best among Anbu and even Konoha ninjas. The delivery of supplies to Sunagakure village this time is not. Just kidding, although Gongyi's face doesn't seem to change. But for these, he is still very concerned about it. A large part of the future development of Konoha village will be the material supply from Sunagakure village this time. After all the materials and funds are in place, Gongyi will be ready to renovate Konoha village drastically. Directly below the Hokage building, this is the headquarters of Anbu. When Kimimaro left at Gongyi, he went back to 320. Because this task is very important, Kimimaro does not dare to be careless. After all, the supplies in Sunagakure village are not a small number. The entire ninja continent, whether it is those big villages or some small villages, are all staring at them. Despite Gongyi's prestige, none of them showed any blatant ambitions. But, now I have seen the meat in my mouth. There will always be people who want to take a risk and choose to gamble. The fourth generation of Kazekage Rasa in Sunagakure village was such a pity. After all, he also failed and paid a heavy price. Village of Sunagakure where he is located will be at a loss from now on. However, on top of these attractive interests, some people will eventually choose to go against some of their original intentions. Gongyi knew this, so he sent Kimimaro to guard this time to deliver the supplies. And Kimimaro also knows this. So the members selected this time are all elites. They are all excellent in various fields. Only under the current arrangement, Kimimaro can feel relieved. Well, what he wants is not to protect anyone's life, but more to bring a lot of these materials to Konoha village. Chapter 468. Orochimaru and Kabuto. Ninja Continent, in a dense jungle. At this moment, the surroundings here are extremely quiet, and the whole prosperous trees are endless. Weather was fine, but the sun was hard to come in. Therefore, some people who are on the road will pass through this jungle and will never enter it rashly. They will feel that it is very strange. And in its depths, no one knows that a hidden underground laboratory has been built here. Asshole, this damn Sarutobi Hiruzen. An angry low voice came from the laboratory. I came to the laboratory. It was dark and incomparably dark, with only faint candlelight shining around. It can be clearly seen that research instruments and various utensils are also placed on the tables. Who just made the sound was Orochimaru, who escaped from Konoha village. His face was a little angry at the moment, A pair of golden snake pupils looked at his hands tied with white bandages, full of hatred. Lord Orochimaru, it seems that the shadow is not so easy to kill. Standing in front of Orochimaru, Kabuto pushed the round-framed eyes on his face, and continued, after all, the opponent is the Hokage, known as the strongest of the 5 kingdoms. But Orochimaru-sama, you are also very powerful. Kabuto said this, paused for a while, and then smiled. After all, he killed 2 of the 5 major shadows. Enough. Orochimaru immediately interrupting Kabuto, he slowly raised his head and looked at Kabuto with murderous eyes. Don't say such words of comfort to me. Brows. Orochimaru exuded a coldness all over his body, and said without any joy, because this will make me feel very uncomfortable. And if I'm not feeling well, I'll want to kill you. The golden vertical pupils made people feel chills and trembling unnaturally. And Kabuto was silent after hearing Orochimaru say this. In the darkness, only yellow candles flickered, and Kabuto's round-rimmed glasses were also slightly reflective, making it difficult to see what his eyes looked like at the moment. After a long time, Kabuto saw Orochimaru's gloomy face and didn't speak anymore. He slowly opened his mouth. Master Orochimaru, you misunderstood, I didn't mean that. Although you didn't capture the village this time, your other purpose has been achieved in disguise. Kabuto didn't seem to show any fear, and said indifferently, after all, you have already been in contact with Uchiha Sasuke. How can you get in touch? Orochimaru's hoarse voice came out, making people extremely uncomfortable. Now that Gai Gongyi is here, it's hard for me to contact Sasuke at all. And with my hands and all. In exchange for such an ending, it seems that I am at a loss. In this situation, Gongyi has become, for the 5th generation of Hokage, my plan is more like paving the way for him. Biting Kiba, Orochimaru's whole face changed a lot, and all kinds of things made him more and more angry. Was unacceptable to Orochimaru that the entire operation, which had been carefully planned for so long, ended in failure in this way. The next moment, he seemed to think of something. Orochimaru said, especially the core plan this time, it is very difficult for Sasuke to implement it. If I want to touch him again, it is not difficult. Instead of risking it like this, I actually prefer to get Uchiha Itachi. Having said that, Orochimaru's face was a little regretful, and he shook his head and continued, unfortunately, this is already impossible to achieve. Lord Orochimaru, your hands now. Kabuto didn't seem to mention it anymore, instead his eyes were fixed on his hands that he couldn't move anymore. I have my own way. Orochimaru didn't seem to show despair, but there was some thought on his face. Maybe there is someone who can help us now. Looking at Kabuto, his grim smile gradually emerged. Master Orochimaru, are you looking for Master Gongyi? Hearing Orochimaru's words, Kabuto became serious, with a solemn look on his face. Obviously, when the man's name was uttered, it made him a little cautious. Well, since this problem has already occurred in Orochimaru, the only thing Kabuto can think of in the entire ninja continent is Gongyi. With superb medical ninjutsu, and his various healing secrets, it is also very famous. Basically Orochimaru wants to say something that can hopefully help him, except Gongyi. Kabuto can't think of a second person. Because Gongyi can't heal things, Kabuto also doesn't think anyone else can perform miracles. Hearing this, Orochimaru shook his head. No, it's not Gongyi. Well, Orochimaru-sama, what do you mean? Seeing Orochimaru's denial, Kabuto's face showed a hint of surprise. He didn't understand. In the state of Orochimaru, is there still someone who can help him? There is one more person, maybe also. Although his hands hurt from time to time, sweat dripped from his forehead. But Orochimaru's face still slowly revealed a sinister smile. Lord Orochimaru, who are you referring to? Tsunade. Orochimaru didn't hide it. Now he needs to go with Kabuto and cooperate with him to find Tsunade. So, now he said straight to the point. Maybe Tsunade, she might heal my hands. Tsunade. As soon as Orochimaru finished speaking, Kabuto's heart skipped a beat. Is naturally familiar with Tsunade. As a spy who has been hiding in Konoha village for so long, how could he not know this? The most powerful medical ninja in Konoha village. Who is also called Sanin with Orochimaru, her medical ninjutsu skills are very high. Even Gong Yi's medical ninjutsu was instructed by Tsunade. But what about the current Gong Yi? His light is too strong, so Kabuto ignores Tsunade. Sir Orochimaru, you are very thoughtful, and now it is indeed possible for Lord Tsunade to cure you. Kabuto's face seemed to reveal enlightenment. Now if Tsunade is willing to make a move, there may be hope. Well, now Gong Yi can naturally not contact him, so don't contact him again. Orochimaru nodded, his eyes gloomy, and he said slowly, that guy is very dangerous now. For Gong Yi, Orochimaru has always been very jealous. As it is now, he doesn't even want to ask Gong Yi for help. The two are already a cooperative relationship, so if it really passes, on the contrary, it may only make Gong Yi have different thoughts. Chapter 469. Anbu Psychic Group. The towering trees take root here, forming a large dense jungle. From a distance, it looks gloomy and green, overlapping and overlapping, with no end in sight. The wind blew lightly, blowing across the staggered branches, and scattered the leaves on it and flew into the distance. This is where the land of fire and the land of wind meet. The location of the two countries is obviously only separated by a canyon, but they are two kinds of scenes. In the land of fire, resources are prosperous here, and all kinds of green mountains, green waters and tall trees make people feel relaxed. Now the opposite country of the wind is filled with yellow sand, the wind of gravel is roaring, and the environment is very bad. Damn, these guys from Konoha village are really deceiving people. Now that we are here to deliver supplies, they still make us wait. Opposite the canyon, that belongs to the land of wind, where nearly hundreds of ninjas from Sunagakur village stood there. They were all around, and in the center were several huge psychic beasts. On their broad backs, a lot of materials were piled up at this time. However, because it was covered by a large yellow cloth, it was impossible for people to distinguish what was inside. Enough is enough, don't say any more. A ninja from Sunagakur village stopped them. Now Kazekage-sama has already explained, don't go to conflict with the people of Konoha village again. This ninja from Sunagakur village, his strength can be clearly felt, already has the strength of Penumbra. But now he is not arrogant at all, but has shame written all over his face. This time, Sunagakur village was a big defeat, which made Jinchuriki Column, a group of Sunagakur village's top supporters, feel uncomfortable. After all, the scene where Gong Yi released Shukaku was completely vivid in my mind. No matter how tyrannical they are, unfortunately they cannot resist it at all. Therefore, in order to prevent any further incidents, Sunagakur village has preferred to settle down. They don't want to care about anything now. After all, it's true to get through this difficulty honestly first. Humph. In the surrounding Sunagakur village didn't speak anymore after hearing the head ninja finish speaking, they could only snort. Sha. Soon, while they were still upset, Kimimaro arrived with 2 squadrons of Anbu elite. Each of them wore black robes, with animal masks on their faces that made it difficult to see their faces. As soon as it appeared at this moment, Kimimaro looked at them coldly and said, all the supplies are here. No politeness at all, no enthusiasm, etc. Kimimaro's current state of indifference lets everyone know that he doesn't even bother to talk nonsense with Sunagakur village ninjas. It's all here. Seeing Kimimaro's attitude, the ninja from Sunagakur village, headed by him, bit Kiba and said word by word. No matter how good his temper was, he couldn't help it. After all, Konoha village was really too arrogant. However, for the overall situation of Sunagakur village, although he was unhappy, he could only endure it in the end. Recycling materials. Kimimaro did not look at him, but spoke to several ANBU members. Yes. Nodding, several ANBU members immediately. Hand seal with both hands and pat down. The technique of psychic. The technique of psychic. Along with a few bangs, white smoke began to appear around Kimimaro and others. Hula. No wait. A group of ninjas from Sunagakur village reacted, and several huge black shadows broke through the white fog. I saw a sound of eagle chirping. It echoed in the canyon. When everyone saw these dark shadows clearly, they were all vaguely frightened. I saw a few huge giant eagles hovering above the sky. The broad eagle's back is hundreds of meters, and it is more than enough to pack these materials. And because it is flying at high altitudes, it can also effectively prevent many sneak attacks from happening. Apparently, in order to safely transport the supplies back to Konoha village, Kimimaro mobilized the psychic team that ANBU was responsible for transporting. The technique of instant body. When the psychic beast appeared, several strong ANBU ninjas behind Kimimaro also immediately rushed to the opposite side. They began to place the supplies from Sunagakur village on the back of the psychic giant eagle. From just now until now, every link has been orderly and obviously arranged the same. The ANBU ninjas are very calm and show no emotion. ANBU members who were among the hundreds of Sunagakur village ninjas were the same. The elite education of Konoha village middle and high level has begun to fully manifest. Even if it's these Sunagakur village's excellent Jonin saw this, and actually had to admit that Konoha village was indeed stronger than the other 4 major ninja villages in this aspect. Didn't take long, and although there were a lot of materials, they were all successfully recovered. Kimimaro saw this and immediately, along with the rest of the ANBU members, they all came to the top of the psychic giant eagle. There was still no nonsense, and with the sound of eagles. Sunagakur village ninjas clenched their fists, all silent. Obviously, the attitude of the Konoha village side is making them really uncomfortable. But there is no way. After all, when they colluded with Orochimaru to invade Konoha village was very angry with them. Of course, this is also Gong Yi's instigation behind the scenes, to make the people of Konoha village begin to feel that the battlefield can change everything. After all, Gong Yi's goal now is to unify the ninja world, so he has to create some hatred so that the people of Konoha village don't have a good impression on the rest of the big village. Only in this way, Gong Yi's goal, for them, is naturally a matter of course. Meanwhile, Konoha village, inside the Hokage office. A black shadow suddenly appeared, kneeling in front of Gong Yi's eyes. What happened to Tianzang? Raising his head and seeing the dark shadow in front of him, Gong Yi asked. ANBU ninja in front of him is Yamato, who was previously subdued by Gong Yi at the root. Hokage-sama, the Orochimaru side has already set off. Yamato raised his head and said respectfully to Gong Yi. Oh, have you left? Gong Yi showed a faint smile and looked at Yamato. Yes, but because Orochimaru is very cautious, I didn't dare to pursue it too much. So now they don't know their specific situation. Yamato nodded, and the whole person responded. That's enough, you go down first. Yes, Lord Hokage. Seeing that Yamato had already left, the smile on Gong Yi's face disappeared, showing a thoughtful look. Orochimaru fled in Konoha village. Gong Yi used a special method to let Yamato track and investigate him. And today, it seems that Orochimaru has made some progress. Chapter 470, A Lifeless Sneak Attack. Originally, Gong Yi was still there before. I thought that Orochimaru was sealed off by Sarutobi Hiruzen using the ghoul, and his hands were sealed, so he would definitely come to him for help. But now with the news from Yamato, Gong Yi also knows that Orochimaru still wants to find Tsunade after all. Well, Orochimaru is prudent by nature, so going to Tsunade now is actually something Gong Yi can think of. Alright, then, let's put the matter on Orochimaru aside for a while. Gong Yi stopped thinking about Orochimaru. During this period of time, he is afraid that he will disappear and will not appear again. As for Tsunade, Gongyi wasn't worried at all. Aside from the current Tsunade's ability to protect himself, Jiraiya's side will leave after a while. At that time, he should directly get Tsunade back, so Jiraiya can be regarded as a free bodyguard. Well, Gongyi naturally feels good that Tsunade can come back. Now that I went to find her by myself, maybe Tsunade really won't come back. After all, the relationship between the two had made her very complicated. Outside the village of Konoha, the vast and dense jungle symbolizes the prosperity of a country or not. With the perfect living environment and the development of various resources, people will naturally yearn for it. At this moment, above the cloudless sky, a few giant eagles with pitch-black bodies are soaring. Kimimaro, wearing a black robe and an animal mask on his face, is standing on top of its huge eagle head, with 2 squadrons of Anbu members behind him. Everyone is now looking around, all of them are looking around and underground. Even though they are in the country of fire now, they have not let their guard down. After all, the location here is very remote, and it is still a long way from the village of Konoha. This skill, they brought such a large amount of materials, naturally they did not dare to take it lightly. It seems that these supplies are innocuous to the mighty Konoha village, but it is a big mistake. The reason why Gongyi took great pains to ask for these, they have a great effect on the development of Konoha village. Supplies are the most important things in the ninja world. No one will think that there are too many supplies and feel troubled. The same way, because these materials are very important, there will definitely be people who want to compete because of Yuhi's eyes. Or want to destroy. If you can enter Anbu, naturally there is no weaker. And these members behind Kimimaro are the best in Anbu. For all kinds of problems like this, everyone is well aware and can guess. So now they are all looking around, and everyone's body is also tense, and can enter the state as soon as possible. The materials of the 5 generations of Hokage, they must be sent back to Konoha village safely even if they are desperate. The current Anbu members' loyalty to Hokage is very high. At the same time, the current Gongyi has become a strong man after all. Where he is worthy of respect. And while they're still there, above, constant vigilance. The jungle below them, dozens of ninjas are all hidden here. I saw the clothes they were wearing, and they were all hidden from the village. Captain, these guys from Konoha, they actually left in the air. Our plans may have changed. A Kumogakur ninja in charge of perception, he reported in a low voice with a frown on his face. And left in the air. Hearing what he said, the head Kumogakur Jonin was a little annoyed. These guys are really cautious. What should we do, Captain? Continue to follow the previous plan. Kumogakur Jonin bit Kiba and gave a secret order. Even if they are already in the sky, I must complete the task. Having said that, the captain in charge of them looked at the members in front of him and said again, "Do you all understand?" Understood. Everyone nodded and responded immediately. Okay, when those guys come to the sky above us, use ninjutsu to interfere with them. The Kumogakur Jonin looked up into the air. He didn't go to notify the perception ninja to check. 1 is to prevent exposure. 2, that is, these few psychic giants come here, they will definitely be very eye-catching, and they will not lose their goals at all. Hula. Soon, not long after everyone finished speaking, several huge psychic beasts could be seen from a distance. They gradually grew from a small black spot before, and it didn't take long to see their specific appearance clearly. Soaring in this blue sky, several huge psychic beasts are very fast and very conspicuous. Come on. Seeing that when Kimimaro and the others were already close at hand, Kumogakur Jonin immediately. Both hands hand seal. Raiden Thunder style 1000 lightning spear. With a sizzle, the thunder and lightning condensed by chakra burst out. I saw that they were extremely chaotic, and when they appeared, they clapped around. Immediately after being extremely fast, they condensed into the shape of a tens of meters long spear. Wait, to order anyone, the Kumogakure Jonin took the lead and threw it up. The rest of the people also quickly hand seal and released their own ninjutsu. Captain, enemy attack. After feeling the power of a Raiden Thunder style, the Anbu ninja who was in charge of perception at the rear immediately. Drink. And Kimamaro's side is also immediately. Looking down, I can feel it completely. You go first, I'll deal with it here. Feeling the destructive power brought by Raiden Thunder style, Kimamaro's voice just fell, and immediately. Leap off the psychic eagle. Shikatsumyaku dead bone pulse bone blade. Extremely fast, when Kimamaro saw the attack of Raiden Thunder style coming, immediately. Slash away. Although this Raiden Thunder style spear looks terrifying, it cannot resist the power of Kimamaro at all, and it collapses and disintegrates immediately. While the rest of the Raiden Thunder style ninjutsu bypassed him, they couldn't break through the defenses of the rest of the Anbu ninjas. A bang, Kimamaro fell to the ground. And the dozens of ninjas from Kumogakure village in front, biting Kiba, rushed towards him. Shikatsumyaku dead bone pulse dance of the larch. Seeing the large number of them, Kimamaro was not afraid at all, but charged towards them with an indifferent expression. Almost in the blink of an eye, this group of only Chunin-level squadrons was wiped out. And the only two, Jonin from Kumogakure village, with wide-eyed faces, with disbelief, were also dealt with by Kimamaro. Take their bodies back and let Lord Hokage decide. The white bones all over his body slowly retracted. Kimamaro looked at the Anbu ninja who jumped down to support him, and said lightly. Enter. Chapter 471. Iwagakure Village, little action. The sun is slowly setting, and the afterglow of the setting sun spreads all around, illuminating the Konoha village in golden color. Above the sky, it is no longer clear, but gradually it is about to enter the dark night. Hoo. At this moment, the sound of flapping wings appeared. Accompanied by the sound of eagle chirping, several huge black psychic eagles appeared in the sky in the distance of Konoha village. After successfully passing the defensive barrier, they quickly landed on the empty field behind Konoha village. Hundreds of Konoha village ninjas around have formed a team to meet them below. All items were delivered safely, and there were no dangers along the way, and nothing happened again. Except the ninja who attacked before, no one dared to plunder Konoha's supplies. Central Administration Building, inside the Hokage office. When Kimamaro came back, he immediately Gong Yi non-stop to report. How is it, all the supplies have been shipped back? Looking up at Kimamaro, Gong Yi asked. Well, all of them have arrived at the village. Kimamaro nodded and said again, but on the way back just before I came back, I was attacked by a small squadron of ninjas. Oh. Hearing Kimamaro finish speaking, Gong Yi's face froze. He obviously didn't expect that there are people who really want to grab food from the tiger's mouth and take the risk of coming to the land of fire to grab their own supplies. Thinking of this, Gong Yi did not show a very angry look, but still asked indifferently, yes, sent from that village. I am not sure about the specifics. Kimamaro said. At present, based on the combat clothing and ninjutsu alone, it is preliminarily determined that it is a ninja from Kumogakure village. Ninja from Kumogakure village. Gong Yi murmured thoughtfully. Well, these ninjas seem to be pretty good at using Raiden Thunder style. There are many ninjas who are good at Raiden Thunder style, but they can't directly represent their identities. Hearing Kimamaro's words, Gong Yi looked at him and asked again, do you think the ninjas in Kumogakure village will really dare to snatch our supplies? We have always had a hatred with Kumogakure village, and its fourth-generation Reikage is the main fighting faction. I don't think it is impossible. Kimamaro thought for a while and then spoke his thoughts. You're right, the fourth generation of Reikage does belong to the main fighting faction, and the entire Kumogakure village is also very belligerent. Speaking, Gong Yi paused for a while and guessed something, but at this juncture, I think it is more likely that Iwagakure will do it. Looking at Kimimaro, Gongyi showed a half smile but not a smile. Lord Hokage, you mean that the Iwagakure village sent ninjas to deliberately frame it for the Kumogakure village? Kimimaro seemed to understand Gong, and immediately asked him. Very likely. Gongyi nodded and continued to analyze. Although Iwagakure village's wishful thinking is very good, it's not a frame-up. After all, I don't think Onoki would bother to use such a trick. Their goal this time should be to sabotage our delivery of supplies by pretending to be Kumogakure village ninjas, and then escape from the country of fire. Gongyi seemed to have completely guessed the plan of the Iwagakure village, and continued, but they may never have thought that this time I will send you to receive these supplies in person, so that group of Iwagakure village ninjas are also elites. But it is impossible to escape in your hands. I see, it looks like Iwagakure doesn't want our Konoha village to be too good. And their third generation, Tsuchikage, seems to be secretly targeting you, Lord Hokage. The masked Kimimaro, eyes gleamed coldly, apparently with some killing intent towards Iwagakure village. The current Kimimaro is extremely loyal to Gongyi. Since Iwagakure village wants to be good to Gongyi, he naturally wants to be restless and get rid of those guys. 4. The roadblock on Gongyi's road, Kimimaro's mind has only one thought, that is to kill. Now the meaning of his existence is Gongyi, so he can't allow anyone to destroy Gongyi's anything. Hee, but if all this is really Iwagakure, we'll be fine. There were a lot of ideas in Gongyi's mind. He didn't get angry at all, but it's actually a good thing for him now. Lord Hokage, you mean? Seeing Gongyi's appearance, Kimimaro was a little puzzled. Now if Iwagakure village really secretly made a move and made some small moves behind it, it would undoubtedly make people feel very uncomfortable. The teacher in front of him, Kimimaro, didn't feel any distress in him. Then let's do the trick, and we'll just deal with the Kumogakure village first. Gongyi looked at Kimimaro and said with a smile, it's just that this time, by using the Kumogakure village, we can complete the plan to capture the second and second tails. Before Kimimaro could speak, Gongyi continued, and when the problem in Kumogakure village is resolved, we can settle accounts in Iwagakure village in the autumn. At that time, their last 5 tails will just fall into our hands. I have already thought about everything, and if the 2-tailed beasts that I did not get in the end are really captured successfully, then I can sit back and relax. As for the control of Kumogakure and Iwagakure villages, Gongyi has no thoughts yet. Get tailed beasts by creating wars, which is also a good choice. At the same time, while consuming their resources, it can also be regarded as laying the foundation for themselves to unify the entire ninja world. Such a time seems to be nothing more than a secret movement in the village of Iwagakure, but invisibly brought an excuse for Gongyi. Starting a war is the best way to get the tailed beast justifiably. And now, Iwagakure village has virtually given itself a fuse to implement this plan. Konoha village originally advocated peace, but Gongyi didn't think so. To wage war now will real unification be accomplished. So subtly, Gongyi naturally has to guide the whole village slowly. Then we will take the initiative to take this opportunity to initiate a war against Kumogakure village. Kimimaro kind of understood what Gongyi meant, immediately asked. No, we naturally can't take the initiative. Gongyi shook his head and continued. If we take the initiative now, then once there are too many casualties, the whole Konoha village's hearts and minds will be lost, which will make it difficult for us to plan our next plan. The 4th generation of Reikage, I think he already has a hatred with us, just need a little stimulation to him, then he won't swallow this breath. Mouth twitched, Gongyi knew the 4th generation of Reikage very well. Chapter 472, Hanging Knife Kumogakure. In the recent period, I have received a lot of news from the spies of Kumogakure village. They seem to be cultivating and recuperating, and they don't want to pay more attention to the ninja continent. Gongyi said, with a bit more sarcasm on his face, but in fact, they have been secretly expanding their military power, and if they let it go for a long time, it will not be good for our Konoha village. After all, the 4th generation Reikage guy, he won't keep swallowing his voice. An indifferent voice came out of Gong Yi's mouth. Obviously, he also wanted to get rid of this long knife hanging in his heart as soon as possible. The Kumogakure village is a scourge after all. If it wasn't for his appearance, the Kumogakure village would be afraid. Then the current Hyuga clan, they are about to hand over Hyuga. After all, the village of Kumogakure, normally speaking, should have failed to kidnap Hyuga Hinata, and then threatened to start a war for this reason. And it was at that time that the 4th generation of Reikage came to power and began to oppress Konoha village. Unfortunately, with my own existence, such a thing naturally did not happen. But through these, all kinds of things can also show that the Kumogakure village is not honest at all. So instead of waiting for them to be really all ready, and then start provoking war. So Gong Yi is naturally better to turn passive into active, choose to strike first, and let Kumogakure village fall into war first. Then Hokage-sama, what are your plans next? Kimimaro heard Gong Yi say this, and immediately asked him. Now many of Gong Yi's plans, naturally need Kimimaro to execute. So some things, he also knows. Of course, Gong Yi was very reassured about him, and naturally he didn't have too many doubts. But despite this, Gong Yi also kept his hand. After all, in the entire ninja world, the most trusted person can only be himself. You just need to go covertly with the ninjas in Kumogakure village now and start creating some friction, that's it. When the real time comes, I'm continuing to plan the next step. Understood, Hokage-sama. Seeing Kimimaro nodded and walked away, Gong Yi didn't leave him. Now I have to confirm a few things. After everything is confirmed, Gong Yi will choose whether to shoot. Thinking of this, Gong Yi also immediately dodged and left the office. When he reappeared, he had already arrived outside the village of Konoha. The art of Hiraishin has long spread throughout the entire Konoha village. Now that he has become a Hokage, Gong Yi has arranged a lot of Hiraishin spells without realizing it. One is to prevent emergencies, and the other is to move easily for yourself, thus saving a little unnecessary waste of time. Soon, leave again. After several consecutive pauses, Gong Yi has come to the junction of the land of fire and the land of earth. Standing on a towering cliff, in front of the palace, I saw that the location there is only a bare piece, and there is no dense, mostly desolate rock wall. And the border area of the entire land country is surrounded by a lot of huge rocks. That is, their existence, the communication between the country and other countries. Normally, if you are not a ninja, it is very troublesome to enter the land of the land, and you need to go through the route that has been opened up. Well, Gong Yi has also heard that when the wind blowing from the north will pass over the mountains, then the small rocks in the land of the earth will be blown to other countries. It is also a very famous natural phenomenon. For rock rain. At this time, Gong Yi was still there. While thinking, a black shadow appeared several times in a row in front of him, and came directly to Gong Yi's eyes. I saw that his face was expressionless, with patterns smeared on his face. And he is wearing an Anbu ninja uniform from Iwagakure. Master. After seeing Gong Yi, the Jonin from Iwagakure looked at him suspiciously. I saw this man, it was the clone created by Gong Yi using the second seed of divine consciousness. Usually, both of them communicate through psychic snakes and pass on information. But today, when the avatar of consciousness saw Gong Yi coming to find him in person, his face showed confusion, wondering if there was a problem with his intelligence. In the nearest village of Iwagakure, have you sent someone out on a mission? Gong Yi looked at the divine consciousness clone and didn't talk too much, but asked directly. That's right, now what Gong Yi wants to be sure of, it's naturally the site of Iwagakure village. He wanted to know if what he had guessed was what he thought. If it was done by Iwagakure village, then he could just use this excuse to start provoking Kumogakure village and create war secretly. As for the matter in Kumogakure village after that, then you can also use your divine consciousness clone to expose the whole incident, and then you will settle accounts later in the fall. Such a thing that kills two birds with one stone, Gong Yi naturally wants to implement it perfectly. Of course, before the real start, Gong Yi still confirmed everything. After all, if it's really a ninja sent from Kumogakure village, then Gong Yi will have another plan. There are, and many. The consciousness clone nodded and responded to Gong Yi. A lot. Hearing this, Gong Yi looked at the avatar of the consciousness. Anyone who is good at using Raiden, Thunder-style, ninjutsu, have you? Suddenly disappeared a lot. Well, in Anbu, a few people did disappear inexplicably. Nodded and continued. And he is also very skilled in Raiden, Thunder-style, ninjutsu, but the death rate of Anbu in Iwagakure village is also very high, no one cares at all. Haha, it's kind of interesting. Hearing this, the divine consciousness clone fell, and Gong Yi's face wrong showed a sneer. Basically, after too simple communication, Gong Yi can confirm it. It looks like it's really from Iwagakure village, and they want to sabotage themselves. Senses, Gong Yi said, these missing Anbu ninjas, you find their information, and then use the psychic snake to send it to me. In 2 days, I have to get this information. Many things, Gong Yi naturally needs to make decisions and make decisions again and again before they can really be implemented. Although Gong Yi is very arrogant, he still doesn't like to fly around like a headless fly. When their information can be confirmed, then Gong Yi will not have the slightest scruples. Well, although these Iwagakure Anbu members' information is all top secret and is kept uniformly. But with the ability to clone his consciousness, Gong Yi was not worried at all. Understood, Master. When the consciousness clone heard Gong Yi's order, he didn't show the slightest expression of difficulty. As Gong Yi's spy buried in the village of Iwagakure, he will unconditionally carry out any orders of Gong Yi. Life-threatening it will be, then of course it will not hesitate. Chapter 473. Beyond the Four Shadows. Warm sun shines high in the sky, and the entire sunny weather is cloudless. Looking up, the Shirakumo on it floated and moved slowly, making people feel a kind of peace and tranquility. Today, the village of Konoha is very noisy. Everyone was in high spirits, looking forward to the next celebration. A few days, it will be the grandest Hokage inauguration ceremony in the entire Konoha village. And as the new 5th generation Hokage Gong Yi, the voice is unprecedented. His contribution to Konoha village is obvious to all. Particular, Gong Yi's deeds are known to all kinds of ninjas from the core to the high level, and to the commoners of Konoha village. Now Gong Yi has completely become the most symbolic Hokage in Konoha village. There is no falsehood at all in the hearts of all the people. Gong Yi's achievements have even surpassed the 4th generation of Hokage Namikaze Minato, the 3rd generation of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and the 1st generation of Hokage Senju Hashirama. Every new generation of ninjas is undeniable. It is denied that Gong Yi is the most memorable among the 555 Hokages. No matter who it is, Gong Yi has now become the goal of his life. Well, because of Gong Yi's intervention, the students in the entire ninja school were also unknowingly influenced by their own will. It is believed that in a few generations, all the people of Konoha village will completely abandon the original will of fire, and thus inherit their own ideas. Everything is constantly changing, all catering to Gong Yi's ideal. Lord Hokage, Mizukage from Kurigakure village has entered the fire country. Nara Shikaku walked in, looked at Gong Yi who was sitting in the office and said slowly, it won't be long before they reach the village. Well, wait until Mizukage and the others come. Shikaku-sensei, please remember to release the news. Closing the documents on the table, Gong Yi looked up at Nara Shikaku and said, this time Mizukage brought Kurigakure village in person, and he definitely decided the position. This can also stimulate the Sunagakure village, which is also an alliance village, and let them know that although we have already asked them for so many materials, regardless of provoking them, in fact, it doesn't matter whether they are allied or not. And the other big villages, the same is true, let them know that Konoha village is not alone, it is also a good choice. Well, Lord Hokage, you can rest assured. I will handle this matter with full authority. Nara Shikaku nodded, seeing Gong Yi thinking so comprehensively, he said with approval on his face, "This time your inauguration ceremony, the arrival of Mizukage, is indeed enough to make the rest of the ninja village feel uncomfortable once. After all, the current state of Kurigakure village. The development is getting better and better, and their strength is naturally not weak. Hehe, after this time is over, look for opportunities to prepare for cooperation with Kurigakure village." Gong Yi curled his lips into a smile and continued, "It doesn't matter whether Kurigakure is village or not, what matters is to let the rest of the people see that the fate of obeying our Konoha village and disobeying Mai village can only be extreme." Well, seeing that Gong Yi already had an idea, he didn't speak for a long time. Now that he has been assisting Gong Yi for so long, Nara Shikaku also agrees with some of his views. Although the Ino Shikacho force he represented before has always been based on the will of Sarutobi Hiruzen. But this will be Kung Fu. After being influenced by Gong Yi, in fact, Nara Shikaku doesn't even know that his mentality has changed. Okay Shikaku-sensei, now it's time for Anbu to start guarding. Gong Yi stood up slowly, he smiled and said, "This time I'm going to greet Mizukage in person." Nara Shikaku saw that Gong Yi was about to leave, and he was a little surprised. "Master Hokage, you are going to meet them in person." This is totally, surprisingly, Nara Shikaku seems to have heard it wrong. Gong Yi in front of him, he was going to greet someone in person was a little out of character for Gong Yi. Nara Shikaku has yet to see Gong Yi coming out to greet someone in person since he took over as Hokage. It has long been reported that Terumi Mei, the fifth generation of Mizukage in Kurigakure village, has an unusual relationship with the fifth generation of Hokage in front of him. Now it seems that this is really the case, but this is fine. The relationship between the two villages is closer, which will only make the outside world more jealous. That's right, and the reason why Gong Yi chooses to appear in person now naturally has such a reason. The main purpose is to do it for the rest of the ninja Omura. Soon, as Gong Yi's side was ready, he had arrived at the gate of Konoha village. He is not alone now, and behind him are two senior Mito Yanman and Kaharu Utatane. As for the surrounding, there are also many ninjas, who are guarding here as if they are waiting. And on both sides of their back, a lot of civilians also began to gather. Now Gong Yi is standing here, like a living sign, naturally attracting countless people. Some people are not here to welcome the arrival of Kurigakure village, they are more watching Gong Yi. This young fifth Hokage, this Konoha legend, has everyone curious. That Gong Yi came to the gate of Konoha village spread quickly. In just a short while, countless civilians gathered here. They scrambled to get to the front, just to get a glimpse of Gong Yi. This, the Hokage, who sees the dragon but does not see the end, is difficult to see in normal times. Especially those with certain ideals. The new generation of teenagers then looked at Gong Yi with excitement. It seems that only in this way can I be more sure of my direction. At the same time, Gong Yi doesn't mind here. He looked around from time to time, and nodded to everyone with a kind smile. For superficial work, Gong Yi has never forgotten. It is because of this that his voice in Konoha village is naturally very high. At the same time, now that this group of civilians are gathered here, they can also know one thing. Sunagakure village Alliance village exists in name only, but there is still Kurigakure village here. Some ninjas and commoners who felt that the Konoha village was alone, after seeing Mizukage coming in person, would not only appease them all, but also boost their morale. So, now that Terumi Mei is here, it's a very good thing for Gong Yi. As for what happened in Kumogakure village and Iwagakure village, Gong Yi also got the news long ago. Chapter 474. The Flattered Mizukage First. The Kumogakure village did not send ninjas, they were still secretly storing their power. Obviously their goal is to do nothing, and one move is to give them the most tyrannical blow. As for the village of Iwagakure, the data sent back through the avatar of the consciousness shows that. Gongyi later asked Kimimaro to compare the corpse, and various investigations were finally confirmed. That entire first squadron of Kumogakure village ninjas, all disguised as Anbu members from Iwagakure village. Onoki is also very cautious, choosing almost no name and no record of people in the village of Iwagakure. Even if the mission fails and everyone dies, it won't cause too much trouble in Iwagakure village. Moreover, because they are Anbu, their identities will not be suspected of Iwagakure. If it wasn't for the risk of being almost exposed by the avatar of his own consciousness, to find out their information, it is estimated that Gongyi himself would not dare to be 100% sure whether this was Onoki's ghost. Fortunately, in order to collect the tailed beasts, he put his consciousness clone in the village of Iwagakure. After all the truth was revealed, Gongyi decided to use this excuse to secretly impose sanctions on Kumogakure village. After that, he will settle accounts in the autumn and clean up the Iwagakure village. After a simple circle, you can collect the last 2 tailed beasts according to the trend. Time, the small 10 tails Jinchuriki column force plan can be started. Hokage-sama, Mizukage and the others are here. At this time, Jonin next to Gongyi whispered. Hearing this, Gongyi came back to his senses, and Gongyi had already seen a figure gradually appearing on the horizon in front of him. There are not many people, although there are only a dozen people, but all of them are Jonin's strength. And as one of the 7 members of the Shinobi Sword in the late period of the Kurigakure Shinobi village, Chojuro, he also followed. As for the leader of the walk, and the most eye-catching, is Terumi-mei wearing the Mizukage imperial robe. Although the clothes are very conservative, but his beautiful and hot figure still can't be covered. On the contrary, this kind of collocation is now on Terumi-mei's body, and it has a unique charm. Mizukage-sama, they seem to be welcoming us. At this time, one of the elites, Jonin, said after seeing the gate of Konoha village. It seems to be the 5th Hokage. Chenjiro could also see it clearly, and when he looked closely, he saw the man headed by the center, which made him stammer. That handsome-looking man, who was smiling indifferently at the moment, would not admit his mistake. Every ninja in Kurigakure village will never admit mistakes. At the beginning of Gongyi's battle with the tailed beast, the last scene of the seal is still vivid in my mind. Although the hatred from before is still there, it has gradually faded over time. Well, this guy actually greets people. Here, Terumi-mei said jokingly on her charming face after seeing Gongyi. After all, Gongyi's indifference is notorious. At the beginning, it was rumored that even the embassy from Sunagakure village came to negotiate several times. Gongyi did not even give face, and only sent consultants to receive them. And now that Gongyi can come out in person, this has given enough face to Kurigakure village and Terumi-mei. Especially now, when Terumi-mei and the others saw the crowd of civilians all around, they were even more surprised. Although these people basically came to see Gongyi, they didn't know it at all, and now they thought that Gongyi had specially summoned them to welcome them. Seeing this scene, all the ninjas in Kurigakure village were relieved a lot. After all, a simple comparison at the moment, Konoha village's attitude towards them is better than other ninja Omura. Such an unintentional matter of inserting willows and willows to create shade has made the people of Kurigakure village have a lot of goodwill towards Konoha village. Hihi, welcome everyone from Kurigakure village. Seeing that Terumi-mei had come, Gongyi led Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Udatane to the front and smiled. Lord Hokage is really flattered to be able to greet him in person. Terumi-mei smiled, looked at Gongyi and said softly. Mizukage has come a long way, it's just a way of hospitality, of course. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about it. Gong Yi smiled and didn't speak any further. After all, there were so many people watching. Especially Terumi Mei, although not intentional, but her charming temperament is indeed a little unbearable for ordinary people. Is that the Mizukage of Kurigakure village? I heard that their village is very far away from us. Well, it can be seen that they and our costumes are also a little surprised. Everyone in Konoha village is actually quite unfamiliar with the people in Kurigakure village, so naturally they are watching Terumi Mei closely. The village of Kurigakure belongs to the island country, and there is almost no intersection with the inland people. After seeing Terumi Mei and the others, everyone in Konoha village has different thoughts. Blink of an eye, under the gazes of everyone, Terumi Mei and the others were greeted by Gong Yi into the Konoha village. There was no embarrassment along the way. After all, there seemed to be a lot of civilians around, but there were also a lot of Anbu hidden in secret. This time Gong Yi's Hokage inauguration ceremony was naturally not allowed to be disturbed from the beginning to the end. After simply arranging Chojuro and others into the residence, Gong Yi called Terumi Mei to the Hokage office alone. Lord Hokage asked me to come here alone, is there something wrong? Terumi Mei looked confused and asked Gong Yi. It was obviously very attractive, but suddenly serious, which made Gong Yi feel a little uncomfortable. No, I think you should come in person and ask me for something. Gong Yi looked at Terumi Mei with a smile but not a smile, shook his head and said. N. Terumi Mei's face also slowly revealed a charming smile, and slowly replied, it seems that nothing can escape your eyes, Lord Hokage. Gong Yi sat on the chair, looked at Terumi Mei and smiled. Hee, since that's the case, then you can talk. Actually there is one thing. Terumi Mei also sat opposite Gong Yi, a pair of proud twin peaks too, which completely became the focus. But Gong Yi didn't pay attention to these, but only listened to Terumi Mei continued. Now I want to use the alliance relationship of Konoha village to establish a mission point in Kurigakure village in the inland location. An inland location becomes a mission point for establishing Kurigakure village. When Gong Yi heard this, he looked at Terumi Mei and asked, do you want to come here and share the mission with the 4 great ninja villages? Chapter 475. Establish a mission point. Lord Hokage, your words are serious. Terumi Mei smiled softly, and immediately said, Konoha village is the most authoritative large village in the entire inland, and the mission completion rate is also the highest, so almost all of your mission points are fixed, and you naturally don't care about some small missions. Those tasks that are poor and underfunded, and with flaws, basically Konoha village will not take it. So in this way, our village of Kurigakure has entered the inland, and it is not the quest resources of the Konoha village that are divided, but the other ninja villages. Oh, it looks like you haven't done any research before. Hearing Terumi Mei finish speaking, Gong Yi replied with a half smile but not a smile. As you said, normal quest resources can't be taken away from the mouth of Konoha village. Those tasks with some problems, we naturally won't take over. Gong Yi said, looking at Terumi Mei, but it's not easy for you to enter the inland now. I will make arrangements for this matter. Terumi Mei nodded and said, now that Kurigakure village is back on track, the required funds are also days, so simply developing in the country of water, it is difficult to fill the current needs of Kurigakure, so the mission resources here in the inland are, although some people in Konoha village don't like it, but it is very important to us. Quest resources, it naturally refers to civilians or nobles who use funds to entrust ninjas to complete what they need. Such as those level and level tasks are also sorted by the amount of funds and the difficulty of the tasks. Generally, they are classified matters related to the national level, and basically most of them are assassinating important people, stealing confidential documents, etc. And these are to protect some important people, or to crusade against the forces of some countries. As for the grades, the corresponding ones are simpler. In the final level, most of them usually arrange their own tasks to train ninjas. Of course, these tasks seem to be very simple, are very easy, but in fact they are also very dangerous. There are many ninjas every day, and they will die in the mission. However, there are also many accompanying benefits, and most of the funds of the entire ninja village are also obtained from these tasks. In this way, the more tasks you receive now, the more funds the ninja village will get, and the development will be even better. Well, Konoha village is so prosperous now, in addition to natural resources, the rate of quests is also quite a lot. Especially now that there is Gongyi-chung. After Hokage for the 5th generation, many people are also rushing to come to Konoha to entrust the task. As Terumi-mei said, there is no shortage of tasks in Konoha village now, and some tasks with problems or defects, Konoha village will not pick them up. They will take on high-quality tasks. As for the other, ordinary tasks, or those rejected by Konoha village, naturally Sunagakur village, Iwagakure village, and Kumogakure village are in their hands. How about it, Hokage-sama, what do you think of my idea? Seeing that Gongyi did not speak, Zhao Meiko asked. Her face was a little tangled at the moment, and she didn't know what Gongyi meant. After all, if you want to build a mission point now, Gongyi's support is indispensable. After all, after many things, Terumi-mei still needs the help of Gongyi. It's interesting, I think you're pretty good. Silence, Gongyi nodded, not rejecting Terumi-mei's idea. Then you are. Agree. Terumi-mei saw Gongyi let go, and her face softened a lot. Agree is yes, but I have one request. Gongyi paused as he spoke, and waited. Terumi-mei spoke up, and he said again, Konoha village, need 30% of the annual comprehensive mission funds of your Kurigakure village. 30%. Terumi-mei's face showed shock when she heard Gongyi's request. She never thought that Gongyi would dare to open his mouth like this. Don't get me wrong, I naturally won't ask for it on the water countryside, but on the inland side, the sum of the funds of your mission points. Quote. Hearing Gongyi's words, Terumi-mei's surprised face slowly recovered. She thought Gongyi was going to exploit her village of Kurigakure just like Sunagakure village. But after hearing this, she felt that it was not unacceptable. Kurigakure is now trying to gain a foothold in the interior, and it would be impossible without Konoha's help. Sunagakure village, Kumogakure village, Iwagakure village here, Terumi-mei will naturally not ask for help. They will only go to the bottom of the hole, where they will give up the few meat. Simply no chance, other than Konoha's wealth. So thinking of this, Terumi-mei also bit Kiba and replied, Master Hokage, as long as you agree to help us establish a foothold in the inland, I will naturally agree to your request. It is still a shadow of a village, Terumi-mei has enough courage. Now that I have promised Gongyi, of course, 70% of the funds are additionally obtained by Kurigakure village. However, if you don't agree to Gongyi now, the 70% will be gone. Wouldn't it be a great loss of this simple measure? Terumi-mei also decided to agree to Gongyi. Deal. Gongyi didn't say anything more, and didn't choose to embarrass Terumi-mei. He was very happy to agree to the village of Kurigakure, and they would set up a mission point in the inland. Gongyi had already thought about these things. Just as Terumi-mei was weighing it up, why didn't he know that although there are countless tasks in Konoha village, the number of ninjas that can be performed is very limited. Therefore, various tasks every day are actually lost a lot. Same way, these lost tasks naturally flowed into the hands of Sunagakure village, Kumogakure village, and Iwagakure village. Although the ninja world is peaceful now, they still belong to hostile countries, so Gongyi can't see that they are not good. Now Kurigakure village suddenly chooses to intervene. In fact, it is a big good thing for him in disguise. You can give all of the quests lost like this to Kurigakure village. At that time, not only can I get additional funds, but I can also effectively suppress Iwagakure village, Sunagakure village, and Kumogakure village. At the same time, when the village of Kurigakure tasted the sweetness, he also caught one of their lifelines invisibly. Simply, this is the best of both worlds. One more resource link was added, and the development of the other 3 big villages was exploited in disguise. In fact, inside and outside, the most profitable, it seems, is only yourself. Well, such a good thing. Why did Gong Yi not agree? Not only agree, on the contrary, he will strongly support. Fei Lu reminds you. Chapter 476. The ceremony of taking office begins. Good. Terumi Mei was very happy to see Gong Yi, and her smile grew even stronger. I believe this will be our most successful cooperation. Well, when are you going to implement this plan? Gong Yi seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Terumi Mei and asked. I need to go back and make arrangements for this matter, the exact time is uncertain. Terumi Mei shrugged, a look of embarrassment on her face. Apparently the whole plan looks very good, but here Terumi Mei she didn't quite work it out. All of this seems to be just a rough guideline. After all, this time, in fact, Terumi Mei mainly wanted to come to Konoha village to congratulate Gong Yi on his appointment to the 5th generation Hokage ceremony. And this matter, Terumi Mei didn't want to say it now. But since Gong Yi asked, Terumi Mei also told him along the way. This matter itself needs the help of Konoha village and Gong Yi's help, so Terumi Mei did not have a detailed plan. After all, she was afraid that it would consume a lot of manpower and material resources. In the end, if Gong Yi was stuck here, then the whole plan could be declared a failure. But now it's different. Seeing Gong Yi agree, Terumi Mei can't waste this opportunity. So Terumi Mei didn't do anything random, but decided to go back to Kurigakure village to plan carefully. This is related to the future development of Kurigakure village, so she didn't dare to be careless. Hehe, I think it's better to hit the sun if you choose a day, and you will do it right away when my inauguration ceremony is over. Do it. Seeing that Terumi Mei was still thinking there, Gong Yi said with a faint smile. Now Gong Yi is going to use the Kurigakure village on Terumi Mei's side to stimulate the Kumogakure village. Originally, Gong Yi was still, thoughts, just letting out some people from Kumogakure village to come. Interfering with Sunagakure village sending supplies to Konoha village, can't make Kumogakure village decide to go to war. After all, that's all, the Kumogakure village should still tolerate it. But now things are different in Kurigakure village, they have come directly to the inland, and then they will snatch the mission resources of Kumogakure village intentionally or not, and give them directly to Kurigakure village. So two-pronged approach, the 4th generation rakeage of the main battle faction, I'm afraid he won't be able to hold back at all. It's also a good choice to let Terumi Mei come here and stimulate him a little bit. Would it be wrong to be so fast? Terumi Mei was stunned when she heard Gong Yi finish. Of course she didn't know Gong Yi's calculations, but Terumi Mei said it very cautiously. It is still the shadow of a village, she has always considered the whole Kurigakure village as a point of interest. So not really immediately at all. Agreed. Inappropriate. Gong Yi smiled and didn't show any signs, and the entrusted tasks that came from his name would be endless, and there would naturally be lost tasks. While I was talking with the other 3 villagers, Gong Yi didn't wait for Terumi Mei to speak again. He continued with a smile, but it doesn't matter, anyway. The benefit of this is up to you, Mizukage. It was a hard-to-find move, leaving Terumi Mei speechless. Looking at Gong Yi's casual look, Terumi Mei's heart naturally understood. Gong Yi's reputation is well known in the ninja world, and his voice is also very high among the common people. Therefore, Gong Yi's own reputation will naturally attract many people to come to Konoha village to entrust tasks. With such a terrifying guy here, who would dare to feel uncomfortable thinking about it? Terumi Mei also seemed worried that Gong Yi would change her mind later. Her expression changed. She nodded solemnly. I will hold a meeting when I go back to discuss this. If something happens, I will send someone to contact you to discuss specific matters. Good. Seeing Terumi Mei's firm look, Gong Yi knew that his future plans could be carried out normally. But he really didn't expect that Kurigakure village suddenly stepped in, but instead helped himself. Well, this is really a good thing. A week later. The weather at the moment is very sunny, a scene full of spring flowers. Today's Konoha village is lit up and ready for a grand ceremony. I saw the current central Konoha, where the administrative building is located. Now it is surrounded by darkness. Taking a closer look, all the civilians of Konoha village are standing here quietly waiting for something. Each of them had enthusiastic faces, all raised their heads and looked forward. Today is the long-delayed Hokage inauguration ceremony for Gongyi. Almost all the people from the entire Konoha village came. Some civilians even closed their shops to celebrate the event. Even the daimyo and various high-level officials of the Fire Nation came here in person. As for those ninjas, except for those who need to guard and maintain the surrounding, they are all standing below. I haven't seen such a spectacular sight in a long time. It has to be said that with Gongyi in power, it seems we may have made the right decision. As Konoha's most authoritative elders, Kaharu Udatain and Homura Mitokado, they stand on a high platform. Now the two of them looked at the crowded scene below and sighed a little. Gongyi, he is indeed very popular, as can be seen from today's inauguration ceremony. Regardless of the attitude of the Fire Nation cabinet, the ninja power of Konoha village, and the commoners. These three parties can all be shown in action. They all support Gongyi. Terumi Mei, who was standing in a special position, and the rest of the ninjas of Kurigakure village were amazed. Was the first time for them to see such crazy people in Konoha village. What the hell did Gongyi do for Konoha village? He was able to capture people's hearts like this. Look, it's Hokage of the 5th generation. Master Hokage is out. It's really Hokage-sama. At this time, with the commotion of the crowd below, all the people who were still surprised came to their senses. I saw the current Gongyi, followed by Nara Shikaku behind him, walking to the huge stage. He was wearing a Hokage hat, with his long black hair tied back, and a Yuhi white imperial robe on his body. It can be clearly seen that on the back of the robe, 5 striking 55 Yuhi color characters are also written. 5 generations of Hokage. Seeing Gongyi appear, the crowd below began to cheer. This 5th generation Hokage who has the highest voice in history, when he appeared in front of everyone with a smile on his face, bursts of shouts resounded in the sky. Chapter 477. Heavyweight Characters. The Grand Hokage inauguration ceremony culminated in everyone's cheers as Gongyi appeared. Even if you are in the periphery of Konoha village, the ninjas who are guarding the safety of the surrounding area can clearly hear the cheering sound from the village. Although they can't watch it in person right now, just feeling such an atmosphere is actually enough. In front of Nuota's platform. When the ceremony started, Kaharu Udatain facilitated Homura Mitokado to praise Gongyi's deeds. From the original ninja war, to the solution of the war with the power of one person, bringing peace to Konoha village. After that, they suppressed the tailed beast alone, and finally made the whole ninja world tremble and so on. The record, they have all been sorted out. You don't even need to add or change it out of thin air, it's enough to make everyone feel deeply shocked. Terumi Mei, the name of the country of fire, these heavyweights, also showed some surprises on their faces. They know this, but when all the events come together, it's always shocking. Because of this, young Hokage of the 5th generation, every deed of his is enough to be called a legend. Okay, the legend of Konoha in our mouths, our 5th generation of Hokage. Now invite him to appear. Didn't take long, when the 2 senior elders of Konoha village finished speaking, they automatically retreated to the back. With smiles on their faces, the 2 looked at Gongyi who was standing behind, obviously waiting for his next speech. Long live the 5 generations. Master Gongyi. 5 generations of Hokage. When Gongyi just came to the front of the stage, all the people below had already raised their arms and shouted again. The continuous sound reverberated throughout the Konoha village. Right now, before he opened his mouth, everyone was already looking at him excitedly. The atmosphere of the whole ceremony was very hot. Terumi-May couldn't help looking at Gong Yi while standing here and sighed. This guy is really popular. It's not an easy thing to get such support. Her is Mizukage, or the shadow of the rest of Omura. Although they are the strongest who control a village, it is still impossible to achieve such a situation. It is because of this, it can be seen that no one knows how much prestige Gong Yi has accumulated to make everyone in Konoha village reach such madness. Thank you for your support. Gong Yi looked at the dark crowd below, and could no longer see his head. His indifferent face was gone, replaced by a smile. Speaking, he took off the Hokage on his head and said slowly, being able to become a new generation of Konoha village's shadow, naturally all depends on everyone's love. There is only one life in the world, each path is different, and you will be born and die according to your nature. Gong Yi seemed a little impassioned and continued, however, no matter which path you choose, don't forget to protect the people you cherish. And I, after becoming the 5th Hokage, I will be the strongest barrier in Konoha village. You in Konoha village, I will also personally guard. Saying that, Gong Yi put the Hokage hat he took down on the top of his head again, exuding a kind of unbelievable self-confidence from the inside to the outside. Everyone was silent. Now everyone is breathing fast, their faces are flushed yuhi, and they all feel a tinge of pride in their hearts. This man who can suppress the ninja world, this man who makes everyone fear, he has become the shadow of Konoha village. All under his protection, all the people will grow up quietly and peacefully. 5 generations. 5 generations. 5 generations. The next moment, when the silence is over, the madness erupts. All the Konoha village ninjas and civilians, as if infected, have started cheering again. The whole grand inauguration ceremony was once again pushed into a wave of violence because of Gong Yi. The climax. And meanwhile, just when the whole world was celebrating in Konoha village and cheering constantly, on the side of Iwagakure village, it was gloomy. How is the investigation going? Sitting in Tsuchikage's office, Onoki asked Anbu members who were standing in front of him. Lord Tsuchikage, still nothing. It's still the original information. We can only confirm that the Konoha village Anbu who escorted the Sunagakure village supplies was a very powerful guy, and his Kekkei Genkei is also a very famous guy in the entire ninja continent, and now he may be Hokage, a capable man. Shaking his head, the Iwagakure Anbu ninja saw Onoki's gloomy face, and then continued, but now the 5 generations of Hokage in Konoha village are already holding their inauguration ceremony, and they don't seem to care about the previous. Are we thinking too much about that matter, Tsuchikage-sama? Thinking too much. Onoki's eyes were cold and he responded, the entire squadron of ninjas we sent before were all killed, and even the corpses were brought back. How could they ignore them? No, Gong Yi very well, Onoki said again, especially now that they have a Hokage who is not willing to suffer, that Konoha's dark blue demon. I don't believe he will really just let it go and continue to work on other things. We destroy their delivery this time, although it seems like a small matter, but in their eyes, it can be infinitely magnified. Unknowingly, Onoki thought of something, and he said, I think now they only have the possibility. They want to wait until the inauguration ceremony is over, and then come to solve this matter. After all, that guy is constantly looking for trouble in the rest of the big village, just for his political achievements and the development of Konoha village. The unlucky guys in Sunagakure village are a living example. Then what shall we do? Hearing that Onoki finished analyzing this, the Iwagakure Anbu ninja standing here sank inwardly. Obviously, on my own side, it is definitely not a wise choice to provoke Gong Yi when he is in the limelight. Who knows if that lunatic will give his village the last-tailed beast. There is no solution, we just have to wait and see. Onoki thought about it for a while, and a gloomy smile appeared on his face. Fortunately, we had prepared well this time. Although they were sent by us, they were dressed in Kumogakure village clothes. It's okay to admit it or not. Anyway, there is no evidence at this point that they are from my Sunagakure village. Chapter 478. A drastic reform. Morning, white clouds float above the pale blue sky. The breeze gently blows the leaves by the roadside, and the warm sunlight has already illuminated the whole Konoha village golden. A new day has begun. Lord Hokage, now there is news from Kurigakure village. The central administration building, Nara Shikaku came to the Hokage office and said to Gongyi. Oh, so fast. Taking the document handed by Nara Shikaku, Gongyi turned over 2 pages and said. Several days have passed since the ceremony of taking office. Terumi Mei discussed with herself, she returned to the village immediately. Arranged. 1. Because here, as the Hokage position is completely settled, there will definitely be many people who come to Konoha village to entrust tasks. 2. Terumi Mei is also afraid that Gongyi will regret it later, or change the conditions, then she will lose a lot. So when returning to Kurigakure village, Terumi Mei also immediately arranged a core high opening meeting to study the next thing. Plan went smoothly without any deviations. This time Terumi Mei extended the hand of Kurigakure village into the inland. She took advantage of several locations along the coast and used it as a map to start building mission points, and at that time, Konoha village was responsible for mission delivery. Those areas were purchased by Kurigakure village with countless resources. It also belongs to them, and there is no problem of encroaching on the territories of other great powers. Well, with this convenient condition, the 2 villages will soon form a new bond of interests. Now that such a good thing is happening, the village of Kurigakure must not dare to linger. Nara Shikaku smiled and responded to Gongyi. When Terumi Mei went back, Gongyi naturally informed him about it. Establishment of task points, and the selection and delivery of various tasks afterward, etc. These things still need Nara Shikaku to be responsible. So Gongyi didn't hide it from him at all, but spoke out his thoughts. Of course, in the final result, Nara Shikaku naturally strongly agrees and supports. This benefited the Konoha village and also weakened the hostile country things. How could he disagree that over time, Nara Shikaku was also under the subtle influence of Gongyi, and some things gradually took for granted. Well, although his IQ is very high, he can think of many future situations. But every time Gongyi's plans are implemented, they are all huge results. Over time, Nara Shikaku stopped thinking too much about impossible things. But if Sarutobi Hiruzen was in power, he would definitely not agree to such a thing. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is a pacifist, thinks it is very dangerous to offend other great powers in this way. Gongyi doesn't think so. He has already changed his mind and chose to take the initiative. Wait until they are strong, and squeeze them as much as they can now while Konoha is strong. Waiting until the final stage is the constant exploitation and weakening of them, nips in the bud all possible defying Konoha. Gongyi and Sarutobi Hiruzen are totally 2 extremes. Nara Shikaku, now he also thinks clearly. If you can't resist, then it's better to just obey. Under the premise of giving proper advice, Konoha village has also developed better, which is why he is not happy with, they naturally dare not hesitate. Gongyi put down the document in his hand, looked at Nara Shikaku and said, now is a good time to let their Kurigakure village develop for free. I guess Terumi Mei is still there. I can't sleep at night, for fear that we will regret it. Well, that's true. Nara Shikaku nodded and continued. It seems that this time, Kurigakure village has made up its mind to make drastic reforms. This is better. Gongyi smiled and replied lightly, the stronger the Kurigakure village is, the better it will be for us. Anyway, the most important financial link is now under our control. If they will be bad for Konoha one day, we will just a little pinch and they're going to be very uncomfortable. When the task point is completed, Kurigakure village will be our master without knowing it, and also must be on the same side as us. Gongyi seems to have thought a lot, he said lightly. That's fine, at least we still have an alliance in Konoha village. Hearing this, Nara Shikaku breathed a sigh of relief. Of Kurigakure here, at least a balance can be achieved in the ninja continent. If Sunagakure village, Iwagakure village, and Kumogakure village are all these big villages, all of them are hugged together. Then it's not a good thing for Konoha village. Although Konoha village is very strong now, it will be very difficult to deal with the joint crusade of the other large villages. Fortunately, in the current Kurigakure village, Gangyi used the mission point to completely control them. As for the rest of the ninja Omura, they didn't have this idea. After all, everyone was thinking of watching the jokes of the other Omura. After all, like Sunagakure village, after being severely exploited by Gangyi, the rest of the ninja village also took advantage of it. After that, you don't have to worry about Shikaku, sensei. Seeing that Nara Shikaku was thinking a lot, Gangyi looked at him and said, now you just need to properly arrange the current affairs of Kurigakure village. Don't worry, I'll prepare now. Hearing Gangyi finish speaking, Nara Shikaku nodded, and immediately ready to go out. Helping Kurigakure village to build a mission point is not an easy task. Many situations now require Nara Shikaku to deal with. Time dazzles. Night fell, the sky was full of stars, and from time to time there were flashing meteors. The village of Konoha, now the broad streets are lit with dim lights. Of Nuoda's village, Jiraiya and Naruto have already walked out of here. After attending Gangyi's inauguration ceremony, Jiraiya and Naruto prepare to leave the experience. He will also use this trip to try to find Tsunade back to Konoha village. Okay Naruto, let's go. Looking at Naruto behind him, who was looking back at Konoha village, Jiraiya said with a smile. Are you ready to go? At this time, an ethereal voice appeared. I saw Jiraiya and Naruto, and when they heard this somewhat familiar voice, they all immediately turn your head to the side and look the other way. Gangyi, wearing the Hokage royal robe, did not know when he appeared here. With a smile on his face, he was leaning against the huge gate of Konoha village. Chapter 478. Jiraiya and Naruto. 5 generations. Uncle Gangyi. When they saw Gangyi, the two looked different. Jiraiya was taken aback, obviously not expecting that Gangyi would come to see them off in person. And Naruto's face became more excited after seeing Gangyi. Uncle Gangyi, are you here to see me? Carrying a backpack, Naruto ran to Gangyi and asked with a smile on his face. What do you think? Gangyi stroked Naruto's golden hair. He also smiled and said, since I chose to go out this time, I must study hard. Saying that, Gangyi turned his eyes to Jiraiya. On the way, Naruto will trouble you, Lord Jiraiya. Was a hint of politeness in his tone. After all, on Jiraiya's side, Gangyi doesn't want to be evil with a rare fighting force in Konoha village in the future, especially now that Naruto still needs his care. Next, I have to do the rest of the plans, and naturally I have no intention of taking care of the rest. Cough, it's not troublesome, you can rest assured, Lord Hokage. Seeing Gangyi being so polite, Jiraiya smiled and waved his hands a little uncomfortable and said, Naruto is here, I will definitely take him well. Regarding the importance of Naruto, Jiraiya clearly understands that he can't just deal with it. Especially now seeing that Gangyi trusts him very much and let him take away the power of Kyuubi, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki column, then Jiraiya naturally knows the world. Jiraiya is such a person, since he trusts me, I will also treat him well. Although Jiraiya is usually carefree, her mind is very delicate. That is to say, Gangyi knew him very well, so he naturally gave Naruto to him to take away. As for the will, Gangyi naturally won't be afraid that Jiraiya will change Naruto. Now that she has come here in person, Jiraiya understands more about the importance she attaches to Naruto. In this way, Jiraiya basically knew that he had brought Naruto by himself since he was a child. It's impossible to completely change Naruto, will with just a few years' time. Especially Naruto has inherited Gong Yi's thoughts for a long time, and Jiraiya has already felt it. In this way, Jiraiya doesn't want to do it when he asks for trouble and has nothing to do. Taking Naruto away this time, I just want to do a little bit for the development of Konoha village. After all, his teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen is dead, and Jiraiya is trying to make up for some regrets in disguise. Well, Lord Jiraiya, your promise, I naturally believe it. Although your values are somewhat different from mine, the ideas are the same. When Gong Yi heard Jiraiya finish speaking, he nodded, and his face did not show indifference anymore. The value of a ninja's life is sometimes weird. Looking back at the past, compared to yours, my life was actually full of failures. Jiraiya looked at Gong Yi and smiled helplessly, but this time, I hope I can succeed because of this decision. Okay, it's getting late, we're leaving too. Back some sighing emotions, Jiraiya waved at Naruto and said, yes. Naruto nodded heavily, and finally glanced at Gong Yi. Uncle Gong Yi, don't worry, I will stick to my own way of forbearance, and will never go against my beliefs, wait for me to come back and shine. Okay, I'll be waiting for you in Konoha. The corners of Gong Yi's mouth rose, revealing a smile. Soon, there was a gust of cold night wind blowing. The shadows of Jiraiya and Naruto gradually disappeared, their shadows under the moonlight stretched longer and longer until they disappeared on the horizon. Sending Naruto and Jiraiya away, Gong Yi also looked back. Starting now, it is natural to move on to the next plan. Build Konoha, develop ninja power, start targeting Kumogakure village, and capture the two-tailed brigade. The leader of the palace. When Gong Yi just came back here, Hyuga Neji has been waiting here. Neji has been away from Konoha village for a long time because the previous Might Guy took them on a mission. He didn't even have time to attend the Hokage ceremony when Gong Yi took office. But this time, when Hyuganeji's mission was over, Gong Yi immediately leave him in Konoha. Now, I have entrusted Nara Shikaku to set up a mission point in Kurigakure village. But some things, Gong Yi is naturally still not at ease. So he decided to send Hyuga Neji to the inland seaside location to participate in this operation. 1. To ensure the smooth progress of Kurigakure village. 22. It is also possible to indirectly monitor the people in Kurigakure village. Since Gong Yi already has a plan, he naturally doesn't want to be ruined. Now the mission point here in Kurigakure village is not only critical to them, Gong Yi is also very concerned about it. Hard to find good things to exploit the three major ninja villages like this, and to enrich their own Konoha village. Konoha village now wants to develop as expected, and it needs a lot of funds. Moreover, now he has many other plans, and the money consumed is not a small amount. Now, with the free quest thugs from Kurigakure village, Gong Yi is much more comfortable. Some dangerous tasks, as well as flawed tasks, can be given to them. Not only the funds are obtained for free, but also the casualties of the ninjas in Konoha village can be reduced. From this, it can be seen that the benefits obtained by him are very precious. Well, Gong Yi naturally needs to pay attention to the construction of the mission point in Kurigakure village. It will not take long. Well, it's basically these things. Sitting in the house, Gong Yi arranged many of his next affairs to Hyuga Neji. I understand, Mr. Gong Yi, I will handle all this naturally. You can rest assured. Hyuga Neji doesn't talk nonsense and doesn't have a difficult face. He just nodded now, with a serious look on his face. Apparently, Hyuga Neji is very concerned about Gong Yi's matter. 4. Gong Yi, Hyuga Neji and Kimimaro are all very loyal. Even with the Hyuga clan, Neji never leaked anything about Gong Yi. With the passage of time, Hyuga Neji is no longer the childish child he used to be. Correspondingly, he has been in the ninja world for so long, and he has even made a lot of fame long ago. Studied with Gong Yi since childhood, and with Byakugan's Kekkei Genkei, his strength has long been very strong. Although it is not as good as Kimimaro, it is difficult for several Jonin and even Penumbra powerhouses to defeat Neji. Particular, Hyuga Neji's head bears the reputation of being a disciple of Gongyi, which makes people even more fearful. Chapter 480, Reikage's Wrath. The new dawn has come. The dawn that broke Akatsuki swayed a golden light, covering every corner of the ninja continent. As Gongyi's plan has begun to be implemented, the entire ninja continent, which has just seemed to have settled down, has once again fallen into unrest. When Gongyi arranged for Nara Shikaku to spread Mizukage to participate in his inauguration ceremony, all the rest of the Omura had begun to be afraid. Every shadow knows about the alliance between the two villages. Now that Mizukage actually went to Konoha village to congratulate Hokage, it is not difficult to understand the meaning. Terumi chose to stand in line and chose to board the big ship of Konoha village. When this happened, everyone was heartbroken. Because they wanted to use all the villages to jointly boycott Konoha village completely shattered. With the sudden prong of Kurigakure village, a balance began to appear on both sides. Of course, when this matter has not completely passed, the Konoha village side also issued a statement. It's about the Kumogakure village. At the same time, it is also a serious condemnation of the immoral things in Kumogakure village. Through the rapid spread of news, everyone also learned the ins and outs. The reason for this is simple. The last time Sunagakure was paying for supplies to Konoha, their delivery team suffered damage. Later, after resisting and killing them, they found that all these people were ninjas from Kumogakure village. So, after Hokage's inauguration ceremony was over, they issued a statement slamming the Kumogakure village for this behavior. Well, a big black pot was held on the head of Kumogakure village by Gongyi without mercy. If you want to start a war, you need a reasonable excuse and a reasonable fuse. Now with an assist from Onoki from Iwagakure village, he has a good reason for Gongyi. It's a bit far-fetched, but at least most of the people in Konoha believe it. The two ninja villages themselves have hatred, especially they have been secretly fighting each other all the year round. Now that Konoha village is getting stronger and stronger, it is conceivable that Kumogakure village wants to destroy it. It is because of this that few people doubt it. On the contrary, it tickles Kiba in Kumogakure village. At the same time, Kumogakure village is also here, and he also hates the ninjas in Konoha village. Some sword slaves have begun to be domineering on both sides, and they are about to fight. Boom! Kumogakure village, inside Reikage's office, a loud noise came out. The fourth generation of Reikage, when he heard the news, the whole person was furious, and he almost completely demolished the entire office. The desk that was just now has become two halves. It can be seen that the fourth generation of Reikage hates Konoha and Gongyi. Obviously there is nothing to do with Kumogakure village, but Gongyi's Konoha village is just like asking for guilt. This is the fourth generation Reikage who has an explosive temper, and he can't hold back his anger. The Konoha village provoked them time and time again, and this time it's even more nonsense for no reason at all. Lord Reikage, you must be impulsive. Now maybe all of this is a trap for Konoha village. A white-haired Mabui, she stood beside Reikage and said helplessly. She really didn't expect that the battle in Sunagakure village has just ended, and Konoha village has not been honest, but the war will spread to Kumogakure village. Kumogakure village is a village that is everywhere, and all are combative. Character. Now that the Konoha village is so provoked, the people who had an unforgettable hatred in the past are about to explode. After all these years of rest, everyone feels confident in their own strength. Especially, the fourth generation Reikage, he felt that as long as he faced Gongyi in the duel, he might have a chance to win. After all, time has passed, and I am making progress. The military power of the entire Kumogakure is also developing very well. No matter from that point, the village of Konoha and the village of Kumogakure are not afraid. It is because of this that the entire Kumogakure village is naturally moving, and it is completely unaccustomed to Konoha's provocation. The fourth generation of Reikage lost his mind. Mabui and other high-level executives are not stupid, they have seen it. The fifth generation of Hokage is obviously playing their minds. HMPH, now this is not what our Kumogakure village did at all, I think they just want to go to war. The fourth generation Reikage heard Azabui's dissuasion, and he sat down again, biting Kiba and saying, "Now this matter, we still need to investigate." Azabui saw that the fourth generation of Reikage gradually calmed down, and she continued, "After all, under the current situation, if we act rashly, we will only fall into the trap of Konoha village. Then what do you want to do?" The fourth generation of Reikage looked at Azabui, and he asked with a gloomy face. "I'd suggest to endure a little longer, it's not a good time to start a war with Konoha village." Azabui seemed to have thought about it for a long time, and she said again, "Let's make a statement first and say that Konoha village is spreading rumors for no reason, and then just keep silent. I think Konoha village will also know that it is self-indulgent, and slowly instead, we are leading us by the nose. Then do it first." The fourth generation of Reikage Cheng suppressed his anger and said to Mabui, "I leave this matter to you." When the words fell, he left the office angrily, obviously going out to vent. 4. Gong Yi, the fourth generation of Reikage is unbearable. After all, the two have been secretly fighting each other for several years, and now this matter seems to be very small, but it has been magnified by him infinitely. Hey! Watching Reikage leave, Mabui who was standing here could only shake his head and sigh softly. Blink as this thing continues to ferment. The Kumogakure village is not lightly angry, but the Iwagakure village is the opposite. Tsuchikajinoki now has a lot of smile on his face. He had no idea that his unintentional actions might cause Konoha village and Kumogakure village to go to war. Originally, he was still worried that there would be problems on his side. But now, when the Anbu members on his side sent the news back, his heart completely calmed down a lot. Hehe, fifth Hokage, you are still too young. Onoki had a sneering look on his face, looking at the document in his hand and couldn't help sneering. He now thinks that Gong Yi, in fact, has been completely carried away by power and victory. Such a simple frame can't be seen, and Onoki also gradually felt that Gong Yi was not. Maybe his power is very strong, but he can't talk about some political struggles. Onoki naturally didn't know, all this was planned by Gong Yi long ago. It's going to work, and he's still complacent, feeling that maybe all this, but it's a good time for Iwagakure village to develop vigorously. Now that Sunagakure village has fallen, if a war really breaks out between Konoha village and Kumogakure village, both sides will inevitably suffer. At that time, on the inland side, the village of Kurigakure will not be able to intervene, so the truly dominant family may become its own village of Iwagakure. When thinking of this, Onoki even wanted to start secretly adding fuel to promotion. The war between the two villages is over.